Anthony Lewis Bellew, born 30th of November 1982.
Yeah.
So you mean you're the same, 82?
Yeah.
Listen, mate, I'm buzzing to have you on.
Thanks very much for having me.
Obviously, we've known each other, feels like forever, mate. But I remember, as I say, seeing you out and about in and around the city, and then for me, watching you go on to fulfil your potential. I think as an Evertonian who stood on the Gladys Street to see you win at Goodison, and obviously I've never seen a boxing match there, so to see the old lady with that crowd in, and obviously the way you got the job done was incredible. Then to see you go and do what you did, and I think you go from kind of reaching your pinnacle in terms of fighting at Goodison, which you dreamt about, to go on and to make sure you look after the next generation of Bellews to come with the the day-to-day fights and that beyond.
Try my best, but they've got it now. The most important thing I'm doing now is trying to teach them to, not teach them, but give them the same amount of hunger and the drive that I had. So I'm fearful of give with my kids, and I'm trying to harness it back and push them. So everyone will think, oh, Bellew's done well and his family are great. Yeah, we've done well. We live in a nice gaff. We've got things that they'd like in life, but I'm struggling with this part of my life because I'm trying to teach them the value of things. So me 18-year-old lad is now in university. He's had the job since he was 15. So he's been working in Lost Souls in town. In my mate's shop, he works every Sunday. He's a good kid, doesn't drink. He doesn't really do much. He studies, he does his things. But then he needs a rocket up his ass to get going. So, and that, once again, is that he's so relaxed. If he was any more laid back, he'd be asleep. And these are things that I constantly find he spends his money on trainees and clothes, which does me absolute capping. But what you do, because I've created these monsters, and now I've got to try and teach them the way we grew up as kids. And it's tough when you're fighting, you have to earn every single thing you've got. Is it bad that we've given our kids the easier way out?
I have the same. I think every parent out there has that dilemma. I always remember reading there's a guy called Warren Buffett, who I think his big company was Berkshire Hathaway, and they would, like, him, Bill Gates and somebody else will be like changing who's the richest man in the world from time to time based on whatever stocks and shares are going up, and he was faced with the dilemma of obviously the same thing but leaving billions to his kids. And he said he'd come to an agreement with them that for every $1 they earned, he would give them $1. But he wouldn't give them or leave them anything in his will. But every year, he would tot up how much they made, and he would meet it dollar for dollar, because he wants to teach them that habit of working hard for yourself and being self-made. And there's something like kids from our background. You were Wavertree Toxteth area.
Yeah.
I've just drove down Upper Parley on my way here. Completely different demographic to major parts of the city.
Yeah.
And again, the Scousers have that, whichever part of the city you're from, they kind of have that self-made determinism in them to get out and make something of themselves in the world, regardless of, whether you get a mum or a dad or whether you don't. I think we set out on a course. I don't know whether it's a benefit or a negative, whether you get this fire in you or not.
I don't know. I mean, you're right when you talk about demographics of where we've grown up. I'm from the south end of Liverpool. I boxed and trained and represents the north end of Liverpool. You couldn't have got a different place. You couldn't have got, like, my mum's black and my dad's white. I'm from a mixed race family. And going to the north end of the city was just, it was a shock to spend so much time with this. So going to Scotty Road from Lodge Lane, from Smithdown Road, is just it's an eye-opener. Yeah. It really is. But I'm trying to get my kids to see where, like, I go back and get my hair cut in the same place I'm from. So I get my hair cut to the top of my Mars Street at Obi's once a week or once a fortnight. And I take my kids there. And when they go in the shop, they're at ease now and the sound, but when they first went in, it was like, oh, the backs were against the wall, and they were a little bit, what's going on around here? Because everyone's coming in, your dad, they're letting on to you, they know you, and they're like, they're acting different. to what my kids have seen before, and they're saying things and they're doing things that are different than what they've ever seen before. And they feel great now when they go in because they're obviously comfortable with it. But when I first took them in, I could see the difference in the shock on their face. And looking at that now, I just need them to feel the way I used to feel when I was a kid growing up. Like you could do anything.
But that's the thing, so isn't it? When you're saying where does the fire come from? It comes from a billion different things that can be, adjusted on the way up. And I always believe everybody's individual. Like you'd either have it fortunate in some people's eyes where you have a mum and dad who provide lots of opportunities for you, and you can go to great schools and all these head starts that people can get in life. And then you have people who actually get nothing, so really bad upbringing, but turned out to be superb people because of the scarcity and the lack of things. And when I look at, I've only been alive 41 years, same as you. When I look at the world, I meet people from all different backgrounds, all different spectrums, and some of the best people you'll ever meet were starting with some of the worst hands you could ever be dealt, and vice versa. Some people who were born into a lot turned out to be, really bad degenerates when they got older, and everywhere in between. I'm lucky in terms of I went to Sporting Chance Clinic when I was like 21, 22 with a guy called Peter Kay for anger management. And they were alcoholics, drug addicts, sex addicts, etc. in there. As I say, I was in there for anger management. And that really broadened my horizons. As a young person, you think you know everything, the area you grow up in or the city you grow up in. And that was the thing for me. I always remember, obviously, I'm having my career in playing, but I always remember I'd keep an eye out for lads I'd met. Obviously, as I say, probably knew you 17, 18, 19, 20, a little bit better as we got a bit older. But growing up in this city, being from where you're from, you said there, your mum being white and your dad being, your mum being black and your dad being white, being an Evertonian. Did you feel that in the city? Could you, because you're not, if you walk past me in the street, I wouldn't go, he's a black fella. I would know because I know you. But you must be
stuck in the
people must say different things around you than they would maybe about someone who's black.
That for all my life until people obviously then kind of knew, or I would make it known.
Well, even if you're going right across the city there and then working in the city centre,
you get so I'd get the 86, or I'd either walk up Smith Down Road and get on the 27, or I'd get the bus the 86 to the 27. If the bus from the 27 on Lodge Lane outside Toxteth Library to the Scotty Road, it's like going. The best way of explaining it was like going back in time.
Yeah.
It was like by the time you got on Lodge Lane, and by the time you got to Scotty Road, it was literally like you'd gone back in time, because it was like, what's going on here? I mean, there's not a brother in sight, and everyone's just like, the words that come out would just be like as if it was normal.
Yeah.
And I would be like, and when you say racist, I've heard every possible racialist name you could possibly imagine. And in the end, it just becomes noise.
Well, that's what I'm going to say. Do you just become immune to it?
Yeah, you do. And until you start sparring or fighting, and then it shows you really wasn't immune, and you take it out on people.
Okay. So I always thought, like, obviously you can imagine when you're in the professions we're in. Yeah. Like, for you, every fight, you either got your home crowd, or when I looked at your resume, some of the places you've been to, I was thinking Carl Smith's fight of the weekend. Obviously, you've been out to Quebec to fight Adonis Stevenson. I remember being at Newcastle when that fight happened. And for me, when I look at that, I go, when you get outside the boundaries of your little area, like for me, it was football. As I say, lucky enough to get into Everton's academy. And then I met a lad from Netherley, Liam DeForo, and then I met a lad. And then before I know it, you don't see colour, because all you see is the sportsman for you in boxing. But did you start trying to play footy in school? Was you always want to be a boxer?
No, I always wanted to be a footballer. I mean, I dreamed of being a footballer. I can play a little bit. I can hit the ball with both feet. I'm comfortable and with both feet, but I wasn't very
What position?
Centre forward.
All right, big Dunk. Jamal, you get
he was me hero, mate.
What a man as well, what a man.
Oh,
yeah.
Duncan's my friend nowadays, and he's a great person, he's a great fella, but yeah, I spent a lot of time with Duncan and I loved him, but as a kid growing up, he was my hero.
But didn't you used to, I heard stories about you and Dunk on the bag at Bellefield. Did you used to go in the same with Everton?
Oh no, so I was never in Bellefield. Little Legs Aussie always rips me about that, because the older lads, so when I first started going to Everton, it was down to David Moyes, the gaffer.
All right.
So I went in there to do I just turned pro, and I went into Finch Farm to do some kind of media stuff. And at the time, I'd just lost my strength and conditioner. I'd sacked him. I didn't think he was doing a good enough job, and wasn't opening enough doors for me, as in facilities we should be using and things like that.
So was you Rotunda? Was that who you were saying? Who was your gym?
At the time, I was in Manchester.
All right.
I'd had 4 fights as a professional, and just before my 5th fight, I goes into Finch Farm. So I goes in, and I'd done my press stuff, and I'm talking to Tim Cahill. I've met him for the first time, and at this stage, these had come and watched one of my earlier fights. TC, Ibo, Mikel Arteta was with them, and I'm not sure if Baz was there or not, Bainesy. There was a few of them. So anyway, I got talking to them, and they were chatting and stuff. And then a week later, I found myself in Finch Farm after the fight, and Bellew's come over to me. Dave Bellew was the head fitness coach at Everton at the time, and he says to me, how are you doing? Lovely to meet you. And I said, listen, do you think it'd be possible if I come in here and use your ice bath to recover from training? I said, because we obviously haven't got one in Dingo. And he went, I don't know, I'll have to run it by the gaffer and ask the gaffer if that's okay. So it took a couple of weeks to get the answer. And he come back and he said, yes, you can use the facilities at the training ground as long as the players aren't in. And I was like, that sound, all I want to do is recover. Just use the ice bath. So my sparring and everything, I would go in straight away, use the ice bath, get off and go out. So that went on for about 2 or 3 months. And one of the days I come in, I think they were training on a late afternoon. I come in and I was obviously there. So the lads have seen me, I'm in their dressing room. And I'm like, oh shit, these have walked in here. I shouldn't really be here. Anyway, they're talking to me. I'm in the ice bath. I'm starting to get to know them back and forth. And that's how my relationship started with the players. I then asked the coaches, I went and seen Bellews. So at this stage now, I'm way around Finch Farm. I don't really know the players, but I've been there for going there for a month or whatever have you. I seen Bellews, said, listen, I've lost my strength and conditioning coach. Well, once again, like I always say, I've lost him to sound nice for him, but now everyone knows I sacked him. So I've just blew it up now. But I said, I've lost my strength and conditioning coach. I said, and I'm looking to find a strength. Is there anyone you can suggest or recommend? And he went, what kind of strength and conditioning you do? And I just said, whatever's going to make me faster, stronger and sharper. And he just went, oh, okay. He said, let me give you a call. And I said, okie doke, sound. So I left and I got a call back off him that night, and he says to me, I've spoke to the gaffer and asked the gaffer if he'd let me train you when I'm not training the players. And the gaffer said, yeah, he's given approval for you to come in and use the actual gym. And I thought, wow, okay, sound. So then before I knew it, I was then training with Bellews, and then I'm in Everton. Then there was no longer a barrier between me and the players. I think the gaffer must have liked me. I was quiet. I came in, I'd done my stuff, and I just got off out. I didn't want to get to know anyone. I didn't put myself on anyone. I just went in and came out.
Yeah, but from the manager's perspective, he's got a lunatic Evertonian who can... if the players have been shite on a Saturday, can put the fear of God into them on a Monday.
I then started, I used to turn up my little Peugeot my Peugeot 407. I'd done 160,000 miles on the clock. So I'd come in and they'd be laughing, and as time went on, the years went on, I got to know them, I spent time with them. We'd have the odd night out, or the Christmas night out. I'd be invited if I weren't fighting. And it took a while for me to sink in that, you know what? I used to think they were superheroes. I used to like, these are Everton. It's Everton players. Yeah. And for the first year, I was like, these are kings of the world, and this is the best thing ever. Getting to know them, being around them, coming in from training, I'm talking to them. I play head tennis sometimes with the physios, the staff. Some of the players are creeping playing head tennis, and it was brilliant. And then it wasn't until about a year I realised and thought, you know what? It finally clicked at me. Tim Cahill said to me once, he said, you do know you're the same as us, aren't you? And I said, don't be stupid, lad. And he went, you're exactly the same as us. He said, you've got a different job. Yeah. And I said, I just don't get it. He said, you play for Everton Football Club, he said, and you punch people in the face. And I was like, I know, yeah, but that's all I'm really good at. I said, you actually play for Everton Football Club. And it took a long time to sink in. I thought, do you know what? He's right. And ever since that day, I don't think I've never been starstruck.
Yeah.
I just, no, I don't believe anyone is anything special. I just think people are good at the jobs and the professions. I'm not saying, listen, I've been in movies, I've been around Sylvester Stallone and lived with him alongside him for 3 months. I'm just not.
Go to that Drew's not here, he looks like Sylvester Stallone.
I'm just not, like, it was them weird that TC said to me, that he says to me, you're the same as us. And I just thought, you know what, you're right. I punch people in the face, you kick a ball. The same things that make you tick make me tick. Yeah. You're not great, I'm not great, you're just really good at football.
Well, that's what you always get into, obviously, being in the industry for as long as you can. You see people come in from music and sports. Obviously, I was at City. Yeah. I had 9 years at Man City, and Ricky Hatton was flying in at the time. So I know Kerry Kays and all them lads. I used to go up and do a bit of training with Rick.
He was my nutritionist.
Kerry is a cracker, isn't he? Yeah.
Kerry's a close friend with me.
CMP, weren't he? Was that him? He made fortunes out of
Kerry
CMP.
Made Dorian Yates first.
Was it Dorian Yates?
And then he moved on from Dorian Yates, and then he made CMP, sold CMP, and now he's happy, and he's still involved in the boxing.
I got all the CMP into footy.
Did you?
And I love Kerry. I always wind him up when I see him, saying I never got a dropsy. Because what happened was there was a lad I was training with, Carlo Sartori, who ended up going from Newcastle with Sam Allardyce to Man City, and I'd done a bit of rehab, and Kerry had got me into the CMP stuff, all the recovery shakes and all that, and the peptides.
Peptides.
We used to get the shivers, pre-workouts, and so when I'd left City, when I went back to Newcastle, Carlo left and went to City, and he told Man City, listen, this is the best product, put it in.
Yeah.
And then at the time, City had another physio who was working with England, so he took it to England, and next minute everyone took it, and then I think he sold the company. I know, but I don't know what's happened with the.
It's everything's got to be batch tested and stuff like that. Now CMP was, and there's another company that's got everything batch tested that I use and stuff. But once Kerry sold CMP, I was like, I'm moving on now. I don't CMP was with me my whole career.
Well, that brings me around nicely, because I watched Saturday night. Callum Smith is obviously fighting Artur Berbatayev. What do you say? Berbatayev, who's 38-39.
Yeah.
Russian fighting, Dagestani fighting out of Canada.
Yeah.
Quebec City, and I watched the fight. Obviously spoke to Brad Orr, who's a good mate of the Smiths, and said that he's going over. He said we didn't get our visas in time. So recorded it, got up and watched it Sunday morning, and I was shocked at the condition of both fighters, because I know, obviously you're around the City, I know how professional Callum is, and
top professional.
Obviously was intrigued, for the fight, because the level Arthur's been at. I just couldn't believe the nick he was in, and
at 39.
At 39, listen, the muscle definition.
I don't mind that. Some people just get that. You've got fantastic genetics and genes, but the fact of that you're getting stronger and more clinical at 39 just beggars belief.
So I seen your tweet after I'd watched the fight, but during the course of the fight, I was just like, doesn't look right, and also it brought to mind. So, and I'll go into it, because I think combat sports and football and how they're linked. I also remember, and people say Volk took the fight on short notice, but Volkanovski Makhachev won in Australia, where it was very, very close fight. They both had full camps, and Makhachev had done something with rehydration in the aftermath of the fight, to Makhachev against Volkanovski 2. And I know Alex took the fight on short notice, and I know Makhachev was preparing for Charles Oliveira. But I've been out to like NAS and Abu Dhabi and facilities to train in. We know with them lads, Ramadan, there's a big difference in protocols, testing, stuff like that, and availability. And have you seen the documentary Icarus on Netflix?
To watch it, but I can't bring myself to watch it. So I just know what it's going to be.
Well, again, and in my sport, I go back over my sport, then going, I wonder if X, Y, and Z player and people missing tests, and again, I don't want to drag it in. That is a totally different domain. But in your sport, you know, if I get smashed in a tackle, I might have to go and get a bit of surgery, but I'm going to go home and see me missus and kids. Unless, well, Matt Letizia now saying there's a rise in people dropping dead.
And again, you've got to take on board what he's saying because he backs it up with stats.
Well, again, figures. Yeah. And we'll get to that. We'll get to that definitely, too. But in your sport, lads, I always remember when it was on ITV and it was the great Chris Eubank and Nigel Benn and Michael Watson. And I always remember seeing that. And then what happened to Michael in the aftermath?
Gerald McLaren, Nigel Benn.
Gerald McLaren, Nigel Benn. Spencer Oliver. And so, but again, in your sport, you know, in the Olympics, in the 100 metres or the 200 metres, you know, someone's quicker than somebody else.
It's a race.
In your sport, there's collisions.
People used to take the piss when I'd say, they go, oh, Tony Bellew just wants to get home safe to his wife and kids. And it's a running joke. It's on social media. It's a laugh. But I weren't pissing around when I said it. When I used to be in press conferences and you get to a level I've been to in fighting and you're fighting the elite, the best of the best. Yeah. Once you've been a world champion, you're a world champion. You've been there. But when you start facing top boys, I mean, I've gone in the ring and I'm genuinely not knowing if I'm going to get home because I know sometimes they're better than me. David Day's such a puncher. If he tees off on me, if he dazes me for half a split second, the next one's putting me in the ground. And I said this today. I was on TalkSport actually today with Michael, Simon Jordan and Jim
White.
Yes, Jim White. And they said, do you think the fight was stopped too early with Callum? And I said, no, I thought it was stopped at the perfect time. They said, some people think it should have been stopped earlier. I said, well, just let me tell you now, that referee that was in the ring with him, Michael Griffin, he's the best referee in the world, without a shadow of a doubt. And they went, oh, okay, what makes you say that? I said, because he refereed my fight against Adonis Stevenson, he saved me life. Because Adonis Stevenson, it's so hard. And I was literally half the man I am right now. Because
Did you have to boil down?
Oh, mate, unbelievable. I would never make any excuses. He beat me, better man beat me on the night. But that's the one time I'll say where I've lost a fight and I've gone, where I genuinely lost a fight and I've gone, I do know why I've lost it, but he still beat me. He's a better man. There's only one time I can ever think in my whole life and career where I've gone, everything was sound and I lost, and that was Alexander Usyk.
Well, I was looking through that. I was going through your record. Obviously, I remember the Cleverly loss, and then obviously you got a chance.
Yeah, I never ever think he beat me. So, and that, everyone asked me about that loss, and I just go, I didn't lose to him. But so and I've shown it in the rematch. But so in my mind, I just go, I've only ever lost to two fighters, Adonis Stevenson and Alexander Usyk. But I half knew it was coming against Stevenson because I knew I had 2 rounds in me at best. And by the time I got to the ring, I had 1 round in me.
So is that because it was in Quebec, wasn't it?
It's in Quebec, but...
So did you get your travelling right? Did you get your prep right? Where did it go wrong?
My preparation's right. It's just that I've outgrown the weight. I'm 6'3" and I'm 12 stone 7. I walk around in them days 15 and a half stone. And I'm not 15 and a half stone, I'm fat. So right now I'm 16 and a half stone and I am a bit fat.
It's crazy though that boxers just they kill themselves on the weight and again you get such a big advantage from it.
I turned pro at 25, 26 and I become mandatory challenger for the WBC title and I'm now 30 or 31. And in that space your body's just gone, it can't do anymore. And I used to fight at 12 stone 7, but I'd be walking around at 15 and a half stone. You've got to remember, my whole amateur career, I fight at heavyweight. I've got 3 ABA titles. I've represented my country all around the world at 91 kilos, which is 14 stone 4. That's the exact same thing as is in cruiserweight in the professionals. But I just thought when I turned professional, you know what? I can get my weight down because I'm weighing in the day before. As an amateur boxer, you weigh in 2 hours before the bout, 3 hours at best. You have a weigh-in and then you fight 3 hours later. Right. You can't afford... I couldn't have weighed in 12 stone, then fought 12 and a half stone, then fought 3 hours later. I had just not been right. But me thinking stupidly was thinking I can weigh in the day before 12 stone 7 and I can rehydrate to 14 stone 7. And I used to do that most times. Against Stevenson, I couldn't rehydrate properly because I'd done myself with the weight. But that's beyond it. I just lost. And I gave it everything I had. My camp was really good. But by the time I got in the ring, mate, I was done.
Well, that's the mad thing for you is because you can go into what's your average camp? 8-week camp, 10-week camp?
I used to do so. It depended on where my weight was. For light heavyweight, I would do 14 weeks, but it's 12 weeks really. The 14 weeks, the first 2 weeks is just to attack weight. Right. It wouldn't be boxing incentivized. It wouldn't be anything to do with a game plan. It wouldn't be anything to do with how we're going to work the camp. It would just be to get in and lose weight for 2 weeks. And then after 2 weeks, I would probably lose a stone in 2 weeks. So that would be the first of 3 stone I'd have to lose. And then it would be literally for the next 12 weeks, it would be £2 a week each week.
So that's the thing. I remember Ricky ballooning in weight in between fights, Ricky Hatton. I remember he had a big problem in terms of, he trained hard, but he played even harder. And when I look at, certainly if it just crossed back into, obviously, boxing, when I go through, I don't want to drag boxing through the mud, but when I go through it, I go, oh God, you've got Tyson Fury who's had...
It should be dragged through the mud.
He's failed tests. Canelo's failed tests. Yeah. And you go through going, oh my God, if this is all the big hitters...
Is this your peak fighters? Imagine what the younger ones are doing. What do they look up to?
Well, again, it's almost like you're getting into the cycling world of if you don't...
if you can't beat them,
play in that grey area, then you can't even get recognition to get fights to get.
I was very fortunate that I lived a dead clean life, and I didn't. So you see me as a youngster working on nightclub doors. Yeah. I wasn't in the nightclubs that often. I didn't party that much. I was very fortunate like that. And listen,
you're the same as me. You knew that. We've probably had enough live examples of people who were really, really talented and thought they could have a foot in both camps and be a party boy and be a sportsman. And I'd seen loads of people who were really talented at my sport, football, who thought they could be a jack the lad and a pro, and it just blew up in the faces. So you've obviously seen that from a fighting perspective.
Mate, the most talented kid I've ever seen in my whole entire life. His name was Joseph Selkirk.
Joe Selkirk, yeah.
There's no one can ever show me anyone more talented than him. He is the best example of a pure boxer you could ever wish to see with a punch. Yeah, and he could really punch. But then just day-to-day life and Liverpool's nightlife catches up with you. And that's all it's down to, really, because he is the best talent I've ever seen.
People forget that. Like, that's the hardest bit.
Of course.
That staying in and again...
promotes that job.
But our culture, so when you think about it, so if someone's born, what you do? Go for the bevy. Someone dies, what you do? Someone gets a promotion in work or sacked, what you do? Everything we do is around it. And again, when you do well, what you said earlier, where you go back, we as Scousers, you don't want to leave the people behind who've made you the person that you are. I always remember George Harrison saying, so the Beatles have obviously got as big as they had and had to go around the world because they were that big. And a lot of the things that was labelled at them was how much they changed. And he said that was a sign of progress. You should change as much as you possibly can. When I think about our sports, they've allowed us to travel all around the world. Your sport, my sport, are true meritocracies because it doesn't matter where you're from, what religion you are, what sexuality you are. You just want the best players in your team to give yourself the best chance to win the game on a Saturday. In your profession, you don't care about the person standing opposite. Yeah, this is just somebody who's in your way between feeding your family or achieving what you want to achieve in life. So how do you go from Tony Bellew, loving football, wanting to be a young Duncan Ferguson and tearing around the amateur football scene in Liverpool to getting into fighting?
Just to impress me out, fella. I come from a different kind of background. So all my friends are still the same friends I've had in school. But my dad left our house when I was 10. A brilliant father, just not very good at being a husband. But was a brilliant father, like I said.
My dad left at 14.
So, like I say, and that's a pivotal time in your life, especially when you're 10, because you know why he's left, you understand why he's left, but you don't really process it that well.
So who's in the house there? So you're the man of the house then?
My eldest brother goes. My eldest brother at that stage was living with his bird at the time. My second elder brother was our Wesley, so he's 5 years older than me. So I'm 10, he's 15, he's just finishing school. And then he goes to college or sixth form, whatever it is. And then, so from the ages of 10 to 13, I'm not the man of the house.
Right.
The elder brother is, and then my brother gets to 18, 19, then he goes to university in Wolverhampton. So then at 13, I do become the man of the house. But the minute my dad leaves and I join senior school, I meet a gang of lads who I just grow up with. So from the age of 11, I'm basically, it sounds funny, but you're raised on the street or in youth centres.
Yeah. Como playing table tennis or footy.
Table tennis, indoor football, pool tables. You just, that's your life. And then, like, I wasn't even that interested in boxing.
Keeps you out of trouble, doesn't it? Do you know what I mean?
It does, but that's until the youth club finishes. And then I wasn't one of them. I wasn't one of them kids who had to go from the youth club straight home.
Right.
because 90%, I mean, 80% of the kids in the youth club, they go from the youth club straight to home. There's a 10-15% there. Well, there's 20% obviously, because I'm saying 80%, but 5% just go and do whatever they're doing. It's not really bad. But then the other 15%, they're getting up to stuff and they're doing whatever, have you, staying out, just being kids on the street. And I was one of them, of the 15%, just out doing things, whatever, playing around with your mates. And that's how we really passed the time.
I can relate to both of them in terms of my mum and dad split up when I was like 13 or 14. So I went with my dad to my grandmother's. My nan was quite strict, but my mum was quite easygoing. You know, I could see, I could have a foot. If I'd have stayed in my mum's. No, not really. But there was a little spell where I could. So if I wanted to play in that little gap, I could say I'm staying in my mum's.
Okay.
So, but I realised I was like, I actually needed the discipline. So then of me nan. Okay. My dad weren't. My dad was playing for Knowsley United and doing his thing, working. And when my mum and dad split up, it was pretty much my nan who brought me up. And my dad was out grafting, and then he went to work in Ireland a little bit later. So my nan brought me up, and she'd say, "What are you doing?" I'd say, "Right, I'm staying in my mate's here." So she'd want to know my mate's mum's number. Yeah. So there was no point even trying to blag her. And if I tried to blag her, there was a few times where there'd be a knock on the door and being like some girl would be babysitting and there'd be a few sitting off. And someone would go, "Your nan's at the door." And you just go, just kills you. The street cred just evaporated. So in the end of the whole, it's not even worth trying it on. When I look back at it now, I go, oh my God, she just kept me on the straight and narrow at a time. That was key. And I seen a few weeks ago you talking about, did you lose your grandmother or something a few weeks ago?
My nan came. My nan was similar. So my dad left, but he was still a part of my life massively. I mean, he goes to jail again, but he comes out and everything's sound. But ultimately, my nan is helping raise us with my mum, and she's always around. And I mean, I've never been scared of any man. I mean, I was scared of my dad. The only person in the world I was ever scared of as a kid growing up. I wouldn't cross me off until I learned to fight, and that was at 15. Once at 15, I wasn't scared of nothing or no one. No man, not even my dad. Yeah. It didn't scare me because I remember we sparred together and I'd done his ribs with a body shot, and I just knew from 15 and if I can do
got his number, got your number.
If I can do it, mate, I can do anyone. That's always I just never had a fear. So, but me nan, I respected me nan. I loved me mum and I adored me ma as a kid growing up. But I feared me nan because me nan had she was old school, and you'd always want not your nan. She would never.
She an Evertonian?
Yeah, she was. Yeah, I'm mad Evertonian. Me nan was. Yeah. My ma wasn't interested in a little bit about football, but me nan was. That's why Craig, my eldest brother, supports Everton, was down to me nan. And me nan's brother Henry. So she was just, me nan was brilliant as a kid growing up. So when my mum would have to go to work, so my mum would work in Tochter Sports Centre, that's where she worked first for many years, and everyone knows me ma from Tochter Sports Centre. Then she goes from Tochter Sports Centre to the Picton Sports Centre. So if I'm not in a youth centre, I'm in one of the leisure centres playing football on the weekend or just doing something. I'm just anything to stay out of trouble. It's only until I get to the age of 15 and I get permanently excluded from school. Once I get thrown out of school and expelled, I've got to then focus on boxing. At this stage, I've had a couple of, I've had one amateur fight. I'm in Stockbridge ABC because the guy who used to run Stockbridge ABC worked on the door for me dad, Mark Kinney. He was one of my dad's doormen, and I ended up just going to kind of. I tried to return.
Was it Tosh Fielding?
Tosh Fielding was there.
Yeah, I remember all
Tosh
them
Fielding
there,
was there, but the head coach was Mark Kinney and Smogger.
All right.
So, but Tosh used to help them, but then Tosh would go missing for weeks at a time or doing whatever, and then he'd come back and stuff like that. That was when he was younger. So, boxing with Canny Farm first, I think I had four or five fights for Canny Farm, and then I fought a really good kid in my fourth or fifth fight. He butted me, he spat in my face or butted him as hard as I could in the face. I got disqualified and thrown off the ring and chased, and then up on that I went to Rotunda ABC, and then I think once I went to Rotunda ABC, that's where everything changed, because that's where I then understood I'm good enough to do this for the.
So who's training in there with you then?
In Rotunda ABC. Yeah, so I walk into Rotunda ABC. There's a guy called Jimmy Albertina, and this. Is that
when they all used to have Albi? Do you have elbow on the thing?
Yeah. Right. So Jimmy created us. He created myself. I shouldn't say created because I obviously go to him as a novice boxer with 3 or 4 fights under my belt. He creates the likes of the Smiths. He creates Joe Selkirk. He creates Joe McNally, Declan O'Rourke. Michael Whitty, just really good fighters at amateur
Because the
boxers.
City, the only one I remember in the City, I remember obviously, it's a bit before my time, I remember John Conte, everyone used to talk about John.
A legend.
And then I remember you kind of Robin Reed, and was it Tony Dodson?
Well, just start off when he's younger.
Paul Stevenson, was he another one?
Steve Olders, then you've got to have the Shane Airy, there's Andy Olligan.
Andy Olligan.
Paul Hodgkinson. There's all different fighters and great fighters from our city. There's Lloydie as well. There's all, from over the water.
But I'm saying, I remember it going quiet for a bit. It was like a bit of a...
and
then all yous came through. Yeah.
So
yourself, Paul Smith.
After Jimmy Neary, it goes quiet for a bit, and then Derry Matthews comes along.
Derry, yeah.
So Derry then lifts us back up, and Derry has a few big wins. Then Paul Smith comes, and then Paul Smith has a few good wins, and it's kind of... There's no one really doing it for us and floating now. I turned pro, and there's not much hype about me when I first turned pro. Nick Pete wrote an article in the Echo saying this is the most excited I've ever been about a Scouse fighter turned professional. And it doesn't actually make me pro debut. Funny enough, it's a funny story behind it, but it doesn't make me pro debut. But he writes in the paper, I'm telling you now, this kid's going to be something else. He's made for the pros. And that was before my first ever amateur fight. Because when I turned pro, I was someone who was loud and I was brash.
I'm saying you had a good amateur pedigree, though. Just looking through there, really good amateur pedigree.
Yeah, I've had 47 fights, 40 wins, 32 by knockout.
What about Olympics and all that? Was you ever close to them?
No, I wasn't good enough for the Olympics. People will say, "Well, how are you not
How
good
can you
enough?"
be world champion if you won't be?
I know, but I'm three-time
fighting.
Yeah, I'm three-time ABA champion. I've won a Four Nations gold medal. I've won various medals, going around places and stuff, multi-nations medals. But on an international amateur boxing circuit, if it was now and it was 3-3, I'd have been great. Because I'd have flattened people. Because it's in that last minute, you always get them. You always get them. It's very rare you'll score a knockout in the first 2 minutes of a round. It's always in the last minute of the third that you'll find them switched off, dwindling or whatever have you. And it was 4-2s with me as an amateur and head guards on, and it was a game of tick.
Yeah.
And I just weren't set out for it. And I was the best amateur in our country. I was really good. And out of me 3 ABA finals, I knocked out 2 of them. So I stopped 2 of them. One of them I rendered unconscious.
Well, that's where the bomber came from, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's where the nickname comes. But to go to Olympic Games, you've just got to be almost perfect. Like, there was so many boxes you had to tick. I mean, Stephen Smith was brilliant. Stephen Smith was someone who
I also remember Stephen beat me for, I think, Northwest Young Sportsman because he'd done really well in terms of getting far. Yeah. Because that was my first awareness of the Smith brothers. And then someone went, oh, there's a load of them. Obviously, Callum, Liam and obviously Paul. But again, in terms of amateur, when I look at the Olympics, it was... And it's a weird scoring system, isn't it? Because I remember seeing Mayweather say he got robbed at the Olympics.
It's a different sport. I know it's like saying football and rugby are similar because they both played with a ball. And from the outside,
or women's football and men's football.
Don't start me. It's just the different sports. Yeah, there's just different sports, and amateur boxing and professional boxing. Like, I was made to fight a professional. I love fighting.
See, I knew that. I knew as a young player, I'm going to be better suited to when the crowd are in and it's points on the line. And I never got all that like prestige at a younger age, but I don't know, something in me, it sounds similar to what you're saying. You just knew you were built for the pros.
Oh, mate,
where some boxers are the other way.
Yeah, but listen, there's lads out there who are just amazing amateurs, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's what you're set up for. That's what you.
Well, it is, because you won't fucking earn as much money if you're a good
you
pro.
Won't, but you're still a good boxer. Yeah. But in the pros, it's about people turn up and. Some people take this the wrong way, but I don't care what they really think. In the professional game, no one really cares. It's a brutal business. And believe you me, your Saturday night entertainment, you're nothing more.
Yeah. And gladiators, aren't you? Modern gladiator.
You've got to understand that when you're stepping foot in the arena, and I always got that. So I don't mind. As long as you're paying, I'll be your Saturday night entertainment, but don't expect no more from me. Don't expect no less, but I'll give you everything I've got on that Saturday night.
That's the thing, obviously. We play Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday, so the opponent's changing. You prepare specifically for one opponent for 14 weeks sometimes. Do you find it easier to fight someone that you don't like as opposed to someone who you maybe respect or like, or is it just business?
Doesn't bother me. I mean, I don't like you the minute you've been put your name to mine.
Signed a contract.
The minute the fight's done, I don't really like. I've fought 2 people in my life I actually liked. One was Danny McIntosh. I knocked him out in the 5th round. I liked him. I don't know why I liked him. I still tell him now, speak to him on social media. I liked him. I just did. And another kid was called Danny Price. I liked him. I didn't want to hurt him.
So where'd you work out whether you liked them or not? In the build-up to the fight? Or
no, you don't really know them. I was on squads with Danny Price and I knew he was my mate. We'd lived together in a squad for the GB's things and gone around the world in different places. So I actually liked Danny. He was a lovely lad. As for Danny McIntosh, I didn't really know him. We knew each other from the circuit. You know, you're fighting, I'm fighting, I'm light heavyweight, you're light heavyweight.
You kind of know you're going to... So for me, I would... certain positions or whatever, even if I'm played with people in training during the week, you're like, I might have to play against you in a couple of seasons because we move. So you're always...
I've always struggled with footballers.
If you're a big competitor, you're always competing. I would imagine you... I haven't been in your house, but I would imagine you and your lads are competitive on the golf course, on the PlayStation, on the tiddlywinks.
The kids always want to push it, but I've always found that weird about footballers with you lot. Like I stay in touch with quite a few of the Everton lads, the older lads. So, and I find it mad how you don't stay in touch with each other.
Well, again, if you make loads of friends in footy, it's very seldom that it's usually lads who don't play that much who end up being loads of mates with everyone. The lads who are playing. There's only 11 lads who are happy on a Saturday in any club. Anyone who tells you anything else, you've got the wrong environment, the wrong culture.
I just couldn't believe it, like Evan. So I'm good mates with Ozzy.
Well, Ibo was a couple of years older than me. He went to school with R&AD and he was in our school, the Beckett's Tony.
Ibo's my mate, so Ibo was at me.
Great fella.
He's boss, mate. Ibo was at me Mrs. 40th couple of
weeks
back.
I seen the photos,
And I love catching up with him. So he's home now and you know what, funny enough, I'm looking at the dates, the 15th day, I've got to catch up with him again.
Taking you fishing?
No, I'm not going fishing. Don't start me off on that. Absolutely most pointless sport in the world.
Well, he's from Hillside, where my nan and that grew up Penard, and we're from, obviously, you've got the Blue Belt, so you've got Liverpool Road, the Blue Belt, where it's Gerrard and all that, and then Eighton Village, and then it's us on the Johns. We were kind of in between.
I just can't believe it. He loves fishing so much, and I'm just pretty brutal, really. I say, lad, what's the point in going fishing? You're only throwing it back in.
Do you know what? His nickname in school was Dogger, wasn't it? So I wonder if that's got... No one calls him it now, or you all call him... Ibo, but he was always called Docker in school, and he always kept himself to himself, always dead quiet. I just remember him in sports day. He used to just win their year's sports day all the time.
Everything.
For a white lad, he was grease lightning. You know,
the fastest white boy alive.
You usually know when you see a white lad running away from the black lads, you know he's quick. That's like Vardy and that. You're like, my God, when you see that, that's when you know he's got seed and pace. So when I look at obviously your amateur career, so. Do you turn pro? Have you always been matchroom, Eddie Earn and all that?
No, I started turning pro with Frank Wagner first.
Seems the main man, weren't he, Frank? I know he's back.
He was, and he's coming back now, but when I first turned pro with him, he had Joe Calzaghe, he had Amir Khan, he had Ricky Hatton, and then they were leaving him for whatever reason, and then I'd see him going through court battles.
They have Nazim Ahmed and all that
as well.
He
had Nazim Ahmed one time. Nazim Ahmed was the only fighter I've ever known him as a big promoter, and he just let him go.
How good was he though, Ahmed? Like when you look back at it now, everyone was tuning in. Almost like he was like McGregor before McGregor. You were tuning in to see him get his head punched in sometimes because of how arrogant he was.
It all originally stems from the same place in Muhammad Ali, obviously, but they've all took it up a notch and they've all tried different things. But I mean, no one ever.
He was the Ingles, wasn't he?
Yes, he's Nassim Ahmed. He was originally from Brendan Ingle, then he moves on obviously to the likes of Emmanuel Stewart, Oscar Suarez, trainers like that. But he's a Brendan Ingle fighter, and he will always be remembered for that. Brendan Ingles, like he is the one. Nassim Ahmed is the guy who put the Ingles on the map. Now, people will argue and say it wasn't. It was Harold Graham before him, but Harold Graham never won a world title. Yeah. Harold Bomber Graham was great a fighter as Harold Bomber Graham was, and he was absolutely amazing.
You got Johnny Nelson, Kell Brook, and all that coming out there.
Nassim Ahmed put it on the map. I'd say you can talk about Kell Brook, you can talk about Ryan Rhodes, Junior Witter,
so you remember this? Do you remember the Wade Smith in town when the new one got done and you went up the stairs? The rock wall up it, and at the top you had the thing where you could bend a free kick like Beckham, or it was Nazim Ahmed. And this was before like PlayStations and all.
Before anyone knew anything. This when you get the bus to town and literally walk around town all day doing nothing.
Trying to not get filled in.
Yeah, not get filled in or trying to get something out of Woolies on the sly.
Yeah, well, yeah. You see what your sticky fingers could pick up. I was never brave enough. I used to go. I knocked about with some heavy shoplifters, so they had the stickiest fingers you've ever seen.
Yeah, I've seen them, mate.
And again, it was a skill. Unfortunately for them, it's not really a player.
To be honest, sweets was a bad. It was sweets. I got a couple of bonbons in my mouth and leg.
So for me, growing up there, Hamed was the first kind of Bruno and Nigel Benn and Eubank had seen, Steve Collins and all that, and then Joe Calzaghe. But now Prince Nazim was the first one where I'd seen a big sports brand in terms of Adidas crossed over into boxing, which at the time boxing wasn't.
That was a big deal as well. He got one of the biggest deals in the world. He got the biggest deal in boxing from a brand like that in the world.
Well, it was Sky as well. He was the
face of Sky. He was the face of Adidas. He was just everywhere. And Naz was absolutely fantastic. I speak to Naz. He's a good fella. His son looks to be quite an exciting prospect. So yeah, he looks to be. He's got it. He looks like he's definitely got the swagger and the pull about him like his father had. But you've just got to wait and see what he can actually do. Listen, he might be a replica of his father. I genuinely think when I look at the likes of Conor Ben, I'm just like, the kid's a double of his father. And I'm not saying, obviously, he's going to do what his father done, but believe you me, he is a carbon copy of his father. He is just the way he moves, the way his body drops and the shoulders drop. Yeah. He's a little killer, mate.
I mean, if he's anywhere near that, he's going to be top level.
Yeah, listen, I say the moves and the physicality and the way he hits and the way he does things he is, but will he have the same devastating effect as his father? Probably not, no, because very few people can. But as far as the moves go, he's at his most dangerous when he's hurt. He can really bang. He does have a lot of similarities to his father.
But we've also seen, and I have to say this because I got you on, Ricky's lad, who I think it's admirable for a son to, especially in the fighting game. I think it's hard in footy, but for the son in the fighting game to go and follow the dad, and we've seen it with a few Mexican boxers. It was Chavez's lad going.
Chavez Jr. Yeah,
obviously Mayweather's one of those. And when I look at it, I go, and I seen Campbell. There was definitely a fight to watch where I thought, I don't think he's won that.
No, and I feel for Campbell, I really do, because listen, he still hasn't found his name. With Conor Ben now, he's got his name. He's Conor Ben. He's no longer Nigel Ben's son anymore. He's his own entity, his own name. Campbell hasn't flown that ship yet, and I think it's the same for very few fighters. I mean, Chris Eubank Jr., he's flown his dad's nest. He's his own entity. He's no longer Chris Eubank's son. For the people from our age group, we will know him as Chris Eubank's son, but he's his own person.
Yeah, to the next generation.
Yeah, to the next generation. He's Chris Eubank.
Yeah, but is he in the Chris Eubank category, or is he still in the Jake Paul category?
I mean, he's beaten good fighters.
I was gutted because obviously Beefy lost to him last time, although I know there was a big thing. Was he in the best of shape to fight him?
It's not that he's in the best of shape, it's just not him.
I thought that. I mean, I don't want to make excuses for him and take away from Chris winning the fight, because I don't.
Just watch one fight from the first one. That's all you've got to do. Don't make excuses. I don't make them for him.
I know, but once you cross that white line in our game, people don't care whether your ankle's strapped up. In your game, you get KO'd.
I agree, mate, and I agree always. But to be brutally honest, just go watch that fight and tell me it's the same fella.
Well, there's big rumours about Callum's rib in the fight at the weekend, isn't it? But then people coming back with
it is, but then you go, has he been stopped on a body shot? So when I fought Usyk, I had a damaged rib, but you know what? No one cares.
I always think so.
Do me with a damaged rib, with a shot to the chin.
Whenever you play, you never fully fucking fit.
Never.
You're always got something you're patching up. And I imagine if you're training and sparring at the level you have,
in the last 5 fights of my career, I had a serious injury going into 4. I won 4 out of the 5 fights, and the fight that I lost, I wasn't perfect, but he didn't pick up on any injury. The fight that I had the worst injury and I gave the best performance, the Day rematch. Oh, sorry, and the fight at Goodison Park, I detached my floating rib. My rib was, when I got in the ring Goodison Park, I genuinely thought he's going to touch me with one body shot and my whole rib cage going to snap in half. And if he would have, it would have, but you just get on with it. It's you're spot on what you're saying, and you know this because you're expected to go out every Saturday. People expect you to train from Monday to Thursday like an animal and a lunatic, go in every challenge, pushing training, and then get in on Saturday and be scar-free and be flying fit and be what. Now, you could have caught cold, you could have got it. It just, if I'm being totally honest, if you're an athlete who prepares and pushes yourself to the limit, now, I wasn't very, athletically gifted. When you look at me, aesthetically, I don't look great, but I can fight like fuck, and I'll never be found wanting when it comes to fighting. But you can't expect me to have that attitude for 12 weeks and then come in scarf.
Yeah, you wasn't like an AJ or even a Cleverly who were like, you
looks amazing.
Look like a men's health model. But again, in your business, it's about putting people's lights out. It's not about how many muscles you've got.
But you playing every week, I can count on one hand out of over 80 fights, amateur and pro. I think it's over. Closing on 90 odd fights, amateur and pro. I can count on one hand how many times I've got in the ring and been 100%.
Yeah.
On one hand.
I can remember seldom after about 3 or 4 games into the season where you're playing and you feel great. Because even to get to pre-season, what you're saying, our 6-week, 8-week pre-season, usually the first 10 days, 2 weeks are about getting the nonsense of the summer that you've just had out of the it's changed now in terms of the level of professionalism. Well, again, for me, having unique experience of, and it leads us on. I weren't planning on talking to you about it, but obviously Anthony Walker's death in the city. For me, it was really difficult because I had a lot of like good mates of mine who were black, who were like, what's going on here? And explaining to them. And obviously you see the other side of that because you obviously skate with both communities, obviously. For me, what you said there about, your brother-in-law's parents and their family, I think about G Walker and obviously the decorum and the way she's handled herself because I've never had a conversation with her, Tom, and I know at some point down the line, that could well be a possibility. And for me to live in the city, and one of the reasons I wanted to get you on as one of the earliest guests is because obviously growing up in the city, growing up as Evertonians, growing up in the luxury really of competing in sports, the racial boundaries just disintegrated for me.
Doesn't matter.
Because as I say, for me, you were judged on what type of player you was.
Are you good enough? What
type of lad you was. Could you compete? Could you take the banter? What was your gear like? Could you dance? What could you take the stick that was inevitably going to come your way as someone who was competing in sport on the Liverpool scene? And as I say, for me, colour. I always remember my dad played for Knowsley United, and Joey Gibbelair, who you might know, Joe.
Yeah, I know Gibbs.
His dad played as a defender in the team, and then there was a lad who played on a Sunday called Keith Sambor.
Is he Sugar's brother?
I don't know, Joey Gibb. I think there's a Joey Gibbelair who about our age, within a few years of us. It was his dad, so he must be in his 60s, Al Joe, at least.
Sugar's brother.
And then they had, because I ended up being good mates with Kev Nolan, who's from your way. And obviously he was a great captain for us at Newcastle.
Kevin boss.
And they were Nicosia on a Sunday, because obviously people forget about Liverpool. It's a hotbed of football and sport. But the Sunday scene in Liverpool, the National Cup.
It's game.
Certainly when I was growing up, people were getting paid a wage to play on a Sunday who were professional footballers. That's still going on now.
They're not getting professionals in, but people are getting paid to play on Sunday league games.
And that's what ties me back into you, because I always thought, obviously, there was a lot of players who were good good footballers, but weren't quite good enough to make it as a pro. Yeah. But could earn a wage on a Sunday, and obviously
the Lobster's still got a wage bill now.
Well, I remember Liam Smith beating Eubank, and then did he miss a pen in the Sunday Cup or something the day after?
Liam's a good player. Liam can play. But there's loads of them, mate. There's loads. I mean, I didn't play at that kind of standard, and I've gone absolutely dreadful of late. But I played for Ed Gill's first team, and I wasn't good enough for them, to be honest. I hated, but they picked me for the first team. And I had 8 going because all my mates played for the second team. And I'd want to score goals and have a laugh and do funny celebrations on us. You know what I mean? If I'm scoring goals, which I could get the odd goal. Well, I'd score most weeks in the second team. But in the first team, you get 1 in 2 games, 1 in 3 games. And I'd just be like, I've got to run everywhere and just run the lines. And they'd know I'd be super fit because I was boxing. And I'd just constantly be chasing the ball, or I'd get it, hold it up, take a couple of smacks, and I'd have to say to someone, listen, lad, next time you try and do me, I'm going to do you proper. And it'd be great. But yeah, there's been some top players. I say Liam's a good player, Liam can play, but there's loads of them. Our city, you've got to be one of 2 things coming from this city. You've got to, one of 3 things. And if you're not one of these 3 things, then you've got a problem. You better be good at football, be able to fight, or you better be able to tell a joke.
Yeah.
If you can't do one of them three things, you're going to have a problem living in this city. I'm telling you now, because the joke's going to get you out of the trouble. The football's going to make everyone love you, and the boxing's just going to make everyone stay well away from you.
That's even the grandmothers, as you say. I'm thinking about my grandmother, Julia, and your grandmother there. They ticked all three boxes on that. Obviously, mad Evertonians. And that's the thing. Obviously, via the medium of football, you bounce into all different people, as I say, from music and sport and art. And obviously, you know, for me, the big thing that jumps out about is how everybody's like a frustrated footballer or would have played. I always find that, you know, certainly your boxers are mad keen and they'll try and play as much footy as they can to stay fit. And I always remember the first time I went into like an ABC and went in the gym, and I was all right. I was rough and ready. I could handle myself on a football pitch, and I remember going in with Bryn Furlong, and you had to do the circuits for like 2 or 3 weeks before you could spar. And I always remember going in for the first spar, and there was a lad who I could fight in the streets. And he'd been going boxing for about 2 years. I'd been playing footy. And he just jabbed me head off. And he ended up swinging a kick at him and got kicked out the sparring. And then weren't allowed to... I had to do the circuits then for another month as punishment. And I thought, fuck this.
I'm not doing this.
So we just went back to footy. And then I used to always go and do the circuits in the off-season with the lads like Lee Molyneux and all that, who were all like amateur boxers. I think Lee had a few fights, but he would be the one who'd fight the up and coming lad.
Yeah.
So I think he was just a W on everyone's resume. And then at what point do you know, Toe, that you go, okay, right, I'm knocking the football's a hobby. I think I can make a few shilling and make a name for myself in boxing here.
I'd play footy and my bird used to go on to me, so I evaded it before, but there's no way I'd ever done what I've done if it wasn't for me missus. There's just not a chance in this world I'd have stayed on the straight and narrow.
Well, they always say behind every great man there's an even better woman. They
say that, but how many genuinely do you see? Because of the lads I've seen and the people that I've grown up with that are successful, especially in my sport, there's not that many great women behind them. And then when you do find that great woman behind them, you see a sad ending in boxing. So they end up leaving them because... I don't know, is the fame not there? But so many boxers that I see, especially from our city and even other places, the women end up leaving them.
But again, it's the same in football. Loads of lads get divorced when they retire. Now, is that, the best days are behind them, or is that the devil makes work for idle hands?
Or is that they're home all the time now and you feel sad, you found the place
again,
that
you think you love them, but they're going out 5 or 6 days a week to training and they're not in the house, and then all of a sudden they're there 24/7 and you realise he's fucking annoying, actually.
But I was fortunate, so
you meet your missus, you said at 9 or 10?
I know, yeah, knew at 9 or 10.
So you're very lucky to meet the love of your life that early.
No, well, she went me bed from then. I mean, I would be laugh and joke about that. If I'd have met her then, there's no chance we would have lasted. But her elder brother was my mate, Neil, and I used to go around, knock at their house and knock for Neil, but Neil was like 3 years older than me. So I'd be knocking and say, "You're Neil in?" And she'd go, "Yeah." And then, believe you me, there was no interest there when I was 10 and she was 9, obviously, but...
Not Sadio Mane, yeah.
No, definitely not. I can't believe I've seen that picture.
Didn't pay for her to go through school.
Mate, I can't believe I've seen that picture. I mean, I'm sure you'll get onto that at some point. You've brought it up, but that's just... Mate, that's...
different cultures, mate. Different cultures. I know, different cultures.
I don't care, mate. That's not a culture. That's nonsense behaviour, so I don't care what you say. That's.
I have to be careful saying that after Jeremy Ryan come for me, didn't he?
I don't know I haven't got a clue what you're talking about, but I've seen that picture and you can't be bedding them, you can't be giving them up at 16, mate, and then marrying them at 18. And
but again...
dating for 2 years, no, mate,
But again, it comes to... so I'm kind of with you because we're from Liverpool and there's a different set of rules, but playing with lads from all over, all different religions... In their culture, Mane, I think, is a practicing Muslim.
Yeah,
God made man.
Yeah.
And then man is woman's made for man's benefit.
Well, that's not the real world.
Well, because we come from a matriarchal, your mum, your nan.
What does a child know at 16, Joe? I mean, what does a young girl know? Any man of an age over 25, 20, any man over an age of 20 years old approaching a girl of 16 is weird, mate. It's bad.
Well, I always think about being in primary school and then going into seniors. And I can remember being in seniors, 14, 15. You must have been the same. And some of the older birds in school were getting picked up by fellas in cars. It's only now when I think back to it, I go...
You were
Yeah, what the hell's going on
He was
there?
a nonce.
Well, again, but you
Tapping
at
up
the
young
time,
girls.
you didn't. I didn't egg the cars in any.
Mate, a girl at 16 should be protected.
Yeah.
From men. Because there is dogs and beasts on this planet and they shouldn't be allowed. Young girls should be protected. At 16, a young girl needs protecting, not releasing to the world. Because what does she know at 16? What does she experience? What can she learn? What has she got in common with a 35-year-old man? What has a 16-year-old girl got in common with a 25-year-old man? Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
It is strange.
No, and no one can break it down and say, well, religion in terms of a 16-year-old child has got nothing in common with a 25-year-old man. And now, I don't even know how old he is now, but whether he was, if they've been dating since he was, what are they talking about when she's 16? And he's 35? What is the conversation consisting of? I mean, was Coronation Street good this week? She has never seen. She's just got off Nickelodeon, never mind Coronation Street.
Well, she can't remember a world where there was no internet.
Mate, she's you know...
But you had to plug your modem in.
It's truly frightening, mate. It really is. But this is the world we live in. But again, what was wrong before that?
I'd put a tweet on today because I'm massively influenced by Christopher Hitchens. Great Christopher Hitchens. I didn't agree with him on everything, but like, incredible mind. And he said about certain religions not really being compatible with the culture that's already
society.
Well, the culture that's already here. And then he went even further. I think he was a famous atheist, and he would debate all different religious people about the merits of I got a kind of omnipotent God in the sky, or whether there wasn't. For me, I'm born Roman Catholic. Obviously, Joseph Anthony, you're Anthony, so imagine you've got a bit of Catholicism in there.
I'm a Catholic, but I don't really.
You're a lapsed Catholic. You're not really practicing.
I don't practice anything. I mean, I'd like to believe there's something with the stuff I've witnessed as a kid, which I'm sure you've witnessed things in your life. There's not much left to believe in me.
What do you believe happens when you?
I have no idea.
You die?
I believe in karma.
All right.
So I believe in you be a good person, then good things may come back to you. You might, I don't know, but
if you're a bad person,
out good. Listen, I'm not as stupid as to say everyone. There's either good people or bad people, because I'm a good person and I've done some bad things. I've done things I'm not proud of.
Well, doesn't Jordan Peterson say that? It's not about a strong man.
It's not as simple.
It's not about a strong man being capable of violence. It's when strong men are capable of violence but decide not to use it.
Yeah, and I get that. And listen, I've done things that I'm not proud of. I've done things that are really bad and stuff like that. I mean, but so is everyone.
But on the whole, you have to, like anything, you have to weigh it. There's like a scale.
Believe you me, mate, I've done far more for people than I have done.
Well, again, and it's a daily scale, isn't it? Because, look at some of the people that have, I don't want to really name his name, but like people who've been given knighthoods and stuff as if they were doing loads of good stuff. And it turns out that, there was stuff brushed under the carpet by people. And again, the world we live in, 2024, we're born 1982. So you're born Toxteth, I'm born Ayton. Liverpool's coming out of the kind of austerity. You're the Toxteth riots, I remember. So you must have been
in them.
You must have been seeing all that growing up. As we're approaching 7, Hillsborough happens. The next year is Italia 90. And then the conflict starts in the Balkans, the UN going in, and then the Iraq War, and then it's a mad time to be alive when you think about it. You grow up probably the same as me, so where you, because of what's happened to the people of the city in the early 80s before we're consciously online, certainly where you lived, because you I remember driving through Toxteth, and it was a long time before the scars of what had happened in that area had gone. And then Hillsborough coming on the back of it, something that united the city, because of the lies and the smear campaign that was set upon the families. What's your earliest memory of kind of football? Do you still remember the street parties where there'd be an Everton Liverpool Cup final or semi-final and there'd be a party in the street?
No. So I was born in Toxteth. I was raised in Wavertree. So, from, I think I was 2.
Not Chilwell, Wavertree side. It's the posh side, Chilwell.
Smithdown Road. So I'm opposite Toxteth Cemetery, Portman Road.
So you got Liverpool areas in the big park and all that there for you, though?
Not far. I mean, that's, I think that's 3/4 of a mile from my ma's house. So yeah, 3/4 of a mile near there. Wasn't too bad. I mean, I don't remember parties. I remember having a party in '95 for Everton.
Cup final.
Yeah, the cup final.
All together now.
Yeah. That was amazing.
Did you go to the final?
Yes, I was at the 95 final. What else do I remember?
What's your earliest memory of going to Goodison?
My first ever game with our Craig took me, and Peter Beardsley scores twice.
Peter Beardsley was good, wasn't he?
Peter Beardsley scored twice. I don't remember the game now.
Where did you sit? Which end?
Flower Street.
Was the park end done, or was the park end the old way?
I've only just found out now. Well, I'd done that thing with Football Focus, and my brother asked me, said, I'll tell you how we got into that first game. He snuck me through his legs.
Yeah, double clicked
you
in.
I don't know how he done that, because I was probably half bigger than him at I'm only
you get the little double click and just bump it in, didn't you?
He said, I got you through my legs, and my mum used to go mad. So I think, so my eldest brother's darker than me. So then,
if you remember the Gladys Street then, you used to have the little junior Evertonian cards that you could get, because it used to have, do you ever remember it being Category A and Category B games? So if Man United played Everton, it was a Category A game.
He's 10 years older than me though, so he remembers.
So do you remember like Robert Warshiker and...
yeah, and Prechy. Yeah.
So these were the glory days of Everton. Obviously, when we were like Beardsley came and was like a ray of shining light, and then Keegan managed to get him to go to Newcastle in the champ, and he forged that relationship with Andy Cole, where they obviously got promoted, and then went on to kind of build that great
Andy
entertainers
Cole was a goal
team.
machine, wasn't he?
Well, I was fortunate enough to play with Coley at Man City, but I obviously grew up like as a kid. You know, whichever team was doing well, you wanted the kits. So Newcastle at the time had just come out the Championship with Kevin Keegan. I only knew them because, if you remember, they paid £1 million for Beardsley off Everton.
They did, yeah.
And I was gutted because we were crap before and then he gave us a little bit of a ray of hope. He'd score some great goals, and then as quick as he was here, he was gone. And then I followed Newcastle because Paul Bracewell was there, and obviously Beardsley had gone. I was like, what are these up to? And then next minute, Newcastle just caught fire, and this lad who they'd signed from Arsenal via Bristol City, Andy Cole, who became obviously British transfer record when they sold him to Man United. And as I say, for me, doesn't probably get the credit he deserves, Andy Cole, in terms of the goal scorer he was.
Oh, mate, he was a great goal scorer. I mean, everyone always harps on about how he missed chance and stuff like that. You know what? He was at Blackburn with Neil, with Danzy. Yeah. So he was there for a while, and he got to know him. So I've met him a couple of times.
Yeah, all that.
And there was loads of them. I remember meeting David Dunn, Damien Duff, all them kind of lads. Because I used to go in and watch Neil train, and Neil would obviously take me in and go, my mate's going to be a good boxer, you know, wait till you see him come up and stuff like that. I always remember Dunny taking the piss. And it's funny.
Yeah, he's a funny cat. Yeah.
Oh, mate, he was round the bend and he was funny.
So Danzy used to being thick as thieves. Then you go to school together?
Yeah, we went to senior school together, and then Neil went to Lishaw.
Yeah, he got in, didn't he? Yeah. He and at that time, so that was you'd made it.
Oh, mate,
you got a pro
contract. Leon Knight, him and Defson Knight, and they were them three were thick as thieves. So they lived in they were three of them in a room.
And that was almost like you were knighted. You were going to make it. You know. Again, it turned out to be, I think, a bit of a curse for some of the lads, like the pressure that went on it. Obviously, Danzy went on to have a decent career and was one of the ones who made it out of Lilleshall, but never probably got to the level he probably expected to.
There was who was the brilliant defender? Was Tom Culshaw, was it?
Tom was there. Well, Tom's my cousin.
He was brilliant.
Tom got in. Tom never played a game in the league. Never played the football league game.
He was a brilliant player.
He got in.
Who else was he with?
You had Nick Barmby, I think, was in there. Franny Jeffers maybe was in there. Michael Owen, I think Sol Campbell was in there. But again, it never got, like Clairefontaine in France, which is a similar setup, had still producing players for the French national team out of it.
Is it really?
And we've gone a completely different way.
And we've done away with it.
We've got academies, and we've gone a different way. And let's be honest, I think the England team is probably as strong in terms of talent as I've ever seen in my generation.
I don't think we'll ever see a street footballer again, though.
Like a Rooney, you mean?
Yeah.
Is that who you class as a street footballer?
Street footballer.
See, again...
Do you think Jude Bellingham's a street footballer?
I think Jude's capable of being the best in the world.
I think he's going to be the best player we've ever created. I think he'll be the best player we've ever... I think when he's
going to be up there, yeah.
I think he'll be the best player England's ever had.
Yeah, I think he's going to be in that.
What that kid's doing at that age, it's truly frightening.
Yeah,
you know what Craig Gardner told me about him? I've been mate to Craig Gardner a long time. And Craig Gardner told me he must have been 15, 16. Craig Gardner said, I've been playing football with the best kid I've ever seen in my life, and I went, get a grip, guards. And he went, Jon, he said, I'm telling you, this kid is something else. He said, I've never seen that.
He's got everything, hasn't he? Really,
and
when
he
you
just
think about it.
He said to me, before he went to Germany, he said to me, there was all the clubs were sniffing around, but no one wanted to just put up the money for him. And the German club did.
Well, there's the big thing now, isn't it? In Man United, we meant to have him in and rolled Fergie out, and Fergie didn't get long enough with him. So he's put one back across. I think it's John Murty, you'll know him from Everton, who went to Man U.
Okay.
So Fergie's put one across him, saying they were intent on showing Jude and his family all around Old Trafford, and Fergie had been wheeled into to Jerry Maguire, to seal the deal, and they'd only given him, say, 5 or 10 minutes, and then whisked him everywhere else, and the kid ended up not signing. And Fergie's furious with John Murty over it, because he believes if they just left him in a room with him, he'd have got them to sign. But I thought Liverpool were close to getting him for a bit.
I'm told his dad's a cop-out, but I don't know.
See, his dad's quite active on social media. I got told, I said on James English, I think that he was like an FBI MI5 negotiator. Turns out his dad's not. He's like a copper. I think he's similar background to you. I think his mum's black and his dad's white. From what I see. His brother looks a good player, Joby, as well, who's gone up to Sunderland.
He's just moved on. Yeah, that's who he's on Sunderland.
But I do agree with you. I think seeing Jude, there's only one lad I've seen, the lad who played for the USA, who was who used to be at Arsenal, who was at Valencia. I think he's moved to maybe Milan or something in between. Musa, he was the only one who I'd seen go up against him and shut him down. But I've watched Jude probably 25 times now, and every time he's just got better and better.
He's just, I've never seen
the only thing that's going to stop him, is injury. God forbid he doesn't get one. Or
I think it's going to get one at some point. Every major player, don't they all get an injury at some point? It's going to, can you think of one superstar player who's gone his whole career without one serious injury?
No, there's not
it's
many.
It's going to happen to you.
Harry Kane hasn't had loads, though, when you think about Kane. He hasn't missed a load of time, has he?
He hasn't, but he does get them injuries, because he had a few. Was he on sideline for England a few times?
I'm not sure. I always Harry Kane, someone I look to, he tends to always turn up.
He had a bad one for Tottenham, because
he'll have got a few. It's like when you look at Shearer. Shearer was quite robust, but had a couple of long termers.
Did he have a knee?
He was never the same. If you remember Alan Shearer, Southampton, early part of Blackburn, he was off the shoulder and could get away from defenders, and then done his cruciate and turned into a kind of
powerhouse,
a powerhouse backup striker, and evolved it. I always remember I played with Michael Owen, obviously at Newcastle. Michael was Grease Lightning, wasn't he, when he first broke through? 17. People forget that.
Changed.
17, he scores that goal against Argentina at a World Cup, wins a Ballon d'Or not long afterwards.
It's mad to think that he won that.
And then the player that he was at Newcastle, he was a completely different player. He had to alter his game. It must be like watching a boxer fight a certain style as a young fighter and then completely morph into a different style of fighter towards the end.
In boxing, that does happen, because the reflexes go first. The first thing a fighter loses is speed of timing and reflex. So they do change. Fighters that I've seen in that, Floyd done it, but was able to navigate his way through his career, and also he picked the right people at the right time. But if he'd just carried on fighting the best available opponents, he'd have lost. But he doesn't. His style adapts as he gets older, and he picks fighters who are a little bit slow, because if he just keeps fighting the fastest and the quickest guy, he'd have had problems, because his reflexes are gradually slowing down.
So I always remember going, I'd come back from a broken foot, and I was up in Newcastle, and I ended up at the back end of my training going having a couple of weeks with Kerry Kay's using their gym, and it was when Ricky was preparing to go and fight Floyd. Yeah, up in Hyde.
Yeah.
So I used to go in there and have the little the chicken salads and all that in the little canteen. And
Kerry looked after me. Yeah,
great little gym, like proper. And then you had the little back room for Billy Graham, and obviously Rick was in there. And he was preparing to fight Mayweather, and obviously Ricky was unbeaten at the time, and Mayweather was obviously doing his thing. They were scheduled for this fight, and I was training in terms of the gym and popping in, watching Ricky train. I've never seen anybody train for a fight like that. He was doing a minute on the bar bag over it, back in the ring.
40 jumps a minute.
Incredible. And he was training 15 rounds of it. I remember I think I got up to about 8 or 10 rounds in the end, and I was just like, how the fuck's he doing this? Then he was going in having a session. So I remember I was pot inclined. I obviously wanted Rick to win, because I'd known him for a load of years. And then I'd seen him train for the fight. And then obviously it was Joe Cortez was the ref out there. And Ricky never recovered. I watched the Atten documentary. That was the brilliant documentary on Sky.
Yeah,
it was a cracker. And knowing him a little bit and seeing him in the interim years, and obviously when he was maybe not doing everything right, and then seeing him looking like he's getting himself back together. But it hit home to me how hard the loss to Mayweather was.
Oh, kills! It's a killer.
You know, he took. You know, Ricky was, again, I don't want to talk about McGregor, but taking thousands to press conferences in America.
He took 20,000 to Vegas. The arena only held 10.
Well, I went to watch him against Castillo, was it? I went out to watch him with a couple of mates of mine.
One of his best ever wins.
Yeah, I was out there for that fight, and then obviously I was desperate for him to do well in the Mayweather fight, and then seeing obviously as well, because you in your game, your invincibility, you're unbeaten. You know, that thing of I can't be knocked out. That bravado almost is what makes you really, really dangerous. And again, I want to get you onto this.
That's when you have to recreate yourself.
So I want to get you onto this. Obviously, Anthony Joshua, who's obviously back on after that win against was it Wilden? Who was his fight against? Otto. Last time round, looked like he had a bit of confidence back. He's going to fight Francis Ngannou.
Correct.
I wouldn't want to fight Francis Ngannou, would you? I wouldn't want to fight AJ.
In a boxing ring, not a problem.
But again, in a boxing ring,
in a cage, believe you me, that is the most dangerous man in the whole world. Nobody
on the street, you're in big trouble, aren't you?
In the street, nobody in the world, no man with 2 arms, 2 legs on the street is beating Francis Ngannou in a fight.
Well, Tom Aspinall and Jon Jones will probably have something to say about that.
I'm a big fan of Tom, and Jon Jones is the greatest mixed martial artist of all time. But mate, I'm telling you now, on a physical level, I ain't never in my life seen anything like
Tony.
Francis Ngannou.
Fellas were saying the same thing when you were fighting David Haye, but you got the job done. So you know Aspinall and Jon Jones will think they can do him.
There's only one way to lose in a boxing ring, and that's by getting well. There's 2 ways. Obviously, you're going to say the body in there, but the 90% of fights end with punches to the head. Now, there's game plans you can put in place. Like, as I said before, aesthetically, I'm not great. I'm not the best boxer. I'm not the biggest puncher. I've just got a really good boxing brain on my shoulders, and it's the only thing in the world I know. So I was able to formulate a plan alongside my coach, Dave Caldwell, to beat David Haye. Now, I knew I could do that. That's not a problem. But if you're saying to another fighter getting the cage with Francis Ngannou, there is 20 ways he can lose that.
Yeah.
And it's just an absolute nightmare facing him. Physically, he's by far the strongest. Physically, his weight, his power, his endurance, mate. I haven't seen him dropped yet or flattened. I haven't seen. And
well, his wrestling was suspect, but he's obviously worked to improve that.
He cleaned up on that. So what he does is, he's not the greatest wrestler, but his
story's incredible.
Oh, mate, his story's incredible. His takedown defense is really good, and that's just his takedown defense. But to take you down, you can't stop him taking you down. He's too powerful, Joe.
So when obviously McGregor. And Mayweather was the big one, obviously, in terms of the breakthrough, wasn't it? Where a boxer crosses over. I know we've had them in the UFC in the past when UFC was starting out and they were still trying to figure everything out. But in terms of recent memory, and McGregor obviously, sells a fight like no one else. World tour and everything, and before you knew it,
it's amazing at what he does.
Oh, incredible! And you were drawn into the fight, and then I'm looking at that going, and on art, if that's in the street, Floyd ain't getting.
It's over in 10 seconds. Yeah. It's over as soon as Conor wants it to. In a cage, that's over as soon as Conor wants to be over. But I'm not going to lie, it's going to disappoint a few people. That could have been over whenever Floyd wanted it to be over. That went as far as Floyd wanted it to go. Floyd Mayweather, in his whole career, has never walked to the centre of a ring, just put his hands up and walk someone down, ever in his life. He doesn't do that.
So you think he's that far ahead of Conor in terms of his boxing capabilities that... He's made it for the fans. It's almost like the wrestling of WWF or whatever.
He's basically just done. Everyone knows Floyd Mayweather is an insane gambler. I will guarantee you now, you will find the exact round he won bets on somewhere in the world for an absolutely ludicrous amount of money. Make of that what you will, but I will put my house on it.
He'll have been getting it a few quid on.
He picked that round, mate. He knew exactly what he was doing, so... It's just insane.
Well, I seen Conor the last fight in Saudi when obviously Joe Parker caused a big upset
And
with
I know
Deontay
Conor, I've met
Wilder.
him a few times now,
But I seen him saying, what about Manny Pacquiao? He wants to fight Manny Pacquiao, because I seen Cristiano was kind of caught in the middle of the...
I was talking to two of them, and I just didn't... He was a specimen, by the way.
Cristiano?
He impressed me even more. So standing in front of him, next to him, shook hands, said hello, talking to Conor, because I've met Conor a number of times now. I love Conor McGregor. He's brilliant at what he does. But the first time I met Ronaldo, and I was taken back by the size of him.
Yeah.
I thought, you're a lump. You're even more impressive now, because to do what you've done at the size you are, it impressed me even more. He's massive, mate. He's a unit. I mean,
that's
he's
a
little
Goodison under 21s, right-hand side, and then he switched over. And that, believe it or not, Portugal versus England under 21s, he wasn't... The other winger was Ricardo Quaresma, who just signed for Barcelona for 27 mil. So I was buzzing because Quaresma was on the opposite wing. So I think Gareth Barry was playing left midfield for us. I was playing right midfield. So Gareth had Quaresma first half. I was buzzing. I had Ronaldo. And obviously second half, I got booked in just at the end of the first half, and the Portuguese coach switched them over to obviously for Quaresma to take the piss out of me and get me sent off. But I ended up staying on the pitch. I don't know how, but I negotiated it.
Cristiano Ronaldo, mate. He's just a specimen.
But for the fact that he's still going, and then that's the thing. We talked there about that street footballer, and I think the best example of a street footballer for me, coming from our country, is probably Wayne Rooney, the best we've ever seen. And coming from another country is probably Maradona. Maradona's probably the archetypal, urchin who's become the best footballer ever.
He's the...
Like Messi doesn't give you the same feel, does he? He looks a bit more packaged, a bit more like, La Masia, the Barcelona Academy, polished.
Yeah, he's like perfect, isn't he?
He doesn't make a mistake, does he?
Maradona's like, he's tripping over to leg you, and then also, let's remember, the kicking fuck out of him as well.
Oh yeah, well again, completely. When you watch the challenges,
and you just like,
have you seen the tackle in the Bilbao game where they're doing bad? Yeah. I mean, nowadays you're getting cyanide for some of them challenges. Do you know what I mean? And that's what people forget. Obviously, with them great ex-players and the compare, it's you must run into it in your trade. So how people try to compare this ex-boxer with this boxer.
Yeah.
And you go, with the nutrition, the training, and everything they know. Obviously the scouting as well, the ability to be able to watch, a boxer on the internet and prepare for him, as opposed to VHSs coming in from like Kazakhstan or something.
You don't even know if it's him.
And you don't even know it's him, and someone else turns up and it's a completely different fella that you're fighting on a night. Well, again, in the amateurs, and that's where I remember you from. I always remember, when you see someone doing sport, or you'd always keep your eye out for them, especially in an incestuous kind of everybody knows everybody kind of city like Liverpool is, where, one of the good and bad things of the city is how many people are jangling and worry about what people are doing, or have you seen what he's up to? So for me, as I say, when I'm looking through and I see you go on, and I'm going, okay, my God, this is a massive fight for him. I always remember the Cleverly fight, so I always remember the building up, and I think it was almost like you were the antithesis of each other, in terms of you didn't have all the looks and all the six-pack and all the marketing, the presentation, and obviously, Cleverly did.
You had the degree, you had the looks, you had the
degree, that was it, yeah.
Yeah, so it was mad, mate, and Matt's degree, and I didn't, and I just, I couldn't stand him. I still can't stand him.
Even though you went, because when you lose to a fighter, I would imagine in boxing, you might never get the chance to get that L back.
Well, I shook hands with him after the fight, and I basically put the rivalry to bed. I thought I won, and I told him to his face I thought I won. I said, but I'm not going to lie, this is a really close fight. It's going to go either way. It's just what the judges like. Now, I'm by far the better boxer than he is. I'm just a better fighter, better skilled, I'm a bigger puncher. He's quicker, throws more punches, but I'm a far technically better gifted fighter.
Would you say, I would always have you as, I had you a bit nastier than him.
Oh, I'm horrible.
When the going got tough, which I think...
I'm horrible, and I'm quite open about that. Well, I used to be.
But you have to be in your sport.
I just, as a kid growing up where you are, and especially when you get into the sport I've got to get into, and in Liverpool, you're going to get challenged on our sport until you're known. Yeah. Because people will be like, he's such and such, he's a boxer, or he's Tony Bellew, and you're going to get called. In our city, mate, believe you me, you are going to get called out on it time and time again until literally they've seen you fight.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking at that there. That's 2011. That's the Echo Arena.
Yeah.
And I take it that, so you go from being 16-0 there off the back of 2 wins against Owen Mackenzie.
Yeah.
To your first loss.
British Commonwealth champion.
Talk me through that.
It wasn't that bad. So when I don't get the decision, one thing you can do, and you can't lie to yourself.
Right.
So you know when you've finished and you've lost fights and you go, in the amateurs, I felt I'd lost that. I knew I'd lost it, and I'm heartbroken. I'm absolutely heartbroken. Yeah. But I went home after Cleverly won, and I weren't that bothered because I was just like, I've won that. I know I've won that. In my heart of hearts, I know I've won.
You weren't expected to do as well as what you was in the fight.
No,
he was meant to blow you out. Yeah,
everyone expected him to blow me away. And when I'm out boxing him 6 rounds in, I think 7 rounds into the fight, I'm like 5-2 up.
Yeah,
something like that. In my mind, I'm way up after 7 rounds. And all I've got to do is keep boxing. Now, I lose a few rounds now in the second half of the fight because I'm getting tired.
Do you lose a few rounds because you know you're ahead and you're trying to manage it out?
I know I'm ahead, but I'm tired because the weight's killing me. I just know, making 12 stone 7, as soon as I got to 29...
It's mad that you made 12
you know 7. It's nuts, but I'm tired in the back end of every fight at 12 stone 7, and it's just the way it's going to get me. But I knew I'd done enough in the early rounds of the fight. And
so in that fight, so you're 12-7, you boiled down to get to 12-7, obviously.
12-7 for 2 minutes.
All right, and what are you in? So you weigh in the day before the fight here?
Yeah.
All right. So when you're getting in the ring on fight night, when you're walking out with your robe on and that, what are you weighing there? About 14 stone?
Just on 14 stone or just under 13-10 minimum.
Wow, you can see why people think it's so dangerous for the boxers with them weight cuts.
But then I never used to do weight like people are doing it now. So people lose 10 pounds on the day of a weigh-in.
Yeah, like big mad water drains.
Crazy, mate. You drain water. I never done it like that. I would lose £2 a week every week. And then if I got to fight week and I had any more than £4, I know I'd be in trouble.
So how was you with your diet and your dedication, your discipline?
Kerry Kayes was the best nutritionist in the world. Yeah. Kerry was brilliant for me. And he would always say, you can lose more and you can do this. And he'd give me chicks and I'd go, Kerry, I'm just going to be around £2. He said, I'll be £4 at the most on fight week. And he'd say to me, if you can get to that, I'll get it. It's not a problem. And it was only when I fought Adonis Stevenson when I ended up nearly dying. Because for the Cleverly fight, I'd made weight, but it just catches up with you. Especially if you're in a 12-round
As you're getting older,
fight.
Your metabolism slows down as well. Yeah, it's a bit easier probably when you're younger.
And then your testosterone levels start to drop as well, especially when you lose weight, because your body's going into fight or flight mode and your body just goes, well, I'm getting rid of that, we don't need that. And that's when it starts making it harder. But the honesty, for the Cleverly one, I was all right. I didn't feel any kind of sadness. I wasn't gutted. I wasn't hiding away. I was going to say,
sometimes boxers walk around feel like they've let everyone down, because with a boxer, you've got to sell. This is what people miss with boxers sometimes. You can win all these fights, but if you don't sell tickets and you don't get this audience, and I remember this, as I say, with Ricky, because he had the Man City following behind him, and you know, he was a ticket seller.
He went into depression.
So he felt like he'd let everyone down.
And I get that, but I didn't feel that after the Cleverly fight.
Right.
I felt that after the Adonis Stevenson fight.
So again, I'm looking through here. So obviously, in terms of that was the first for me. The first loss would always be the first speed bump in terms of, all right, how are you going to handle your first injury? How are you going to handle your first bit of disappointment? And I always remember the fight, and I remember, because I was invested in you in terms of I want you to win and do well, I always remember thinking, he's fucking done well there. Because I remember the build-up to it, almost like you shouldn't have been fighting Cleverly, as if like you were...
I was British and Commonwealth champion, he was world champion, and people just liked its levels.
And do you think that comes down to, as I say, because you wasn't this manicured fighter, this rough and ready kid from Liverpool?
I'm not easy on the eye. I say whatever I want to say. I'm a scouser who just doesn't care. And I swear live on TV, and I come in trackies and I cause trouble, and I'm a loudmouth. He put the loudmouth scouser down, basically. Just do whatever you do, and no one really likes you. And you know what? I'm not going to lie. I kind of fed that image. And I should have, in hindsight, I should have kind of distanced myself from, but I didn't care. And I still don't.
Any different though, do you? You're just getting on, trying to do your best.
If you don't like me, sound.
So is that's your first world title shot then?
Yeah.
So are you thinking there, I'm going to get another one? Or are you thinking, that's my chance gone? Or are you thinking, I need to fucking knuckle down here, and if I can get back in position, I'm good enough to win one?
At that stage, I'm just thinking I want to get paid. I want all my money. Because I know I've won, but I think I've won, and I'm a pretty good judge on boxing, especially when it comes to scoring bouts and stuff. I know I've won that. I've gone home, I've studied the fight 3 times over, and I know I've won. Right. I don't get it.
So does that annoy you then? Because I know boxers, a lot of your purses are linked to the winner gets a bit more than the loser, does it?
No, it doesn't work like that, but you sign a contract and you want to get paid. So I'm waiting to get paid for quite a while. And then there's obviously a court battle that goes on, stuff like that. I get all my dough and then I break ties, I leave Frank Warden. And then
that the straw that broke the camel's back with that?
Yeah, so I leave Frank Warden after that. And then after that, I go from there to Matchroom and Eddie Hearn.
All right.
And then it takes me a long time.
I like Eddie. People get a bit of heat, don't
you know what? It takes, Eddie will tell you, and I class Eddie as a friend, and I don't have many in the world. Now, people say, why is he your mate, or you kiss ass, whatever. Well, I had the fella at my wedding, and I only had my closest of friends at my wedding. So it's just, I get on with him. I'm not stupid. If we weren't in business together, we'd have never been friends. We're from totally different backgrounds, different places in the world, different upbringings, but there's a common ground that we found and we get on, and the most important thing is we're just honest with each other.
Yeah.
Now, we've had many of an arguments. We've had murder at times over arguing about whether it's a money, whether it's arguing about what I should get, what I shouldn't get.
He's opinionated, he's strong opinion,
and he'll stick to it, and we get on. But the most thing, and the one thing I can rely on is he's honest. And what he says you get, you know what you do get, what you shake hands on. I never had a contract with Eddie. Never signed a contract, which is absolutely insane to think for the levels.
Especially in that game, because you heard about skullduggery left, right and centre with promoters and fighters.
To become a Sky box office fighter and be top of the bill, and then the promoter then works for you, to not have a contract with a fighter is just unheard of. I was a Sky box office fighter, 3 huge pay-per-view box office events back to back. I've done 4 or 5 in total box office events, which have all been massive successes, all made Sky millions upon millions of pounds. Not for one of them fights that I have a contract with at the end. Now, that
testament to your friendship, that lad.
Yeah, it just comes down to we shake hands and we agree on things.
With Scouts, I don't know where the Scouts thing. That Scousers, there's a few Scousers I know who are very, very principled like that, and they prefer almost that way of working.
We're a dying breed, though, mate.
Well, again, you know, there is a load about like that whose word is a stronger bond as you can imagine. If I say I'm
going to do something, I'll do it, and I stick to it. So once I go to him, it takes me 2 years I didn't trust them, and I just thought they're all the same. These promoters, I don't trust. I can't. Is
that an overhang of your previous experience with people in the trade?
Experience in the pro game, and then going and speaking to fighters. So going to speaking to fighters like Johnny Nelson, speaking to fighters like Richie Woodall, Ricky Hatton, and Amir Khan. Speaking to these people and learning from their experiences.
I remember listening to a Teddy Atlas podcast when he talked about that kind of politics that goes into boxing and now belts and people's ranking. And again, I think this where boxing has to be very, very careful, because for a long time the best haven't fought the best, as we were talking on there. You know, for me, Fury fighting Ngannou was kind of like, okay, Connor's and Mayweather have shown the path. I felt sorry for Francis because he was a champion, and obviously Dana and the UFC didn't look after him at the level he wanted.
I mean, they did, but he should be paid a lot more, I agree. But the monopoly Dana White's got on the UFC is that's what he's created, that's his brand, that's his organisation. I think it's horrendous how much to get paid. Not horrendous how much to get paid because it's what you actually generate. Conor McGregor gets what he's worth when he fights in the UFC because they know he generates that much, so he devises his own side deal with them.
Yeah,
which you've got to take your ass off to him and just give him all the credit in the world to Conor McGregor because he's not stupid. Whereas Francis Ngannou saying, I generate this much in the UFC, going, well, as a matter of fact, you don't. You're an amazing fighter and you do bring something to the table, but you're not Conor McGregor, and I get that because he isn't. No one's Conor McGregor.
No, and he doesn't sell. He doesn't sell. They made an
example of him with. You see, the one thing I've got to give the UFC credit for, and like I said before, I think it's wrong that they're paid fractionally what they are. Don't get me wrong, they're still paid millions. They are multi-millionaires, these fighters, and they do get paid in millions of dollars at each time. But I must say that someone like Dana White has grown the UFC to such a level that it's unbelievable, mate. I mean, when his biggest ever fighter and the greatest fighter of all time just goes on walking away and he just lets him in Jon Jones, you're just like, well, what are you going to do? How are you? And then he just creates another one. He's not. Conor McGregor just walks away and he goes, no problem, I'll just create another. And the UFC continues to run, and that is down to Dana White's.
Well, they've lost Khabib, he walked away, didn't he? There's loads,
They do walk away, and it's a constant wheel.
But the good thing about it, so, is the best fight the best, or tend to. I know
that's because of Dana, though.
But again, I think boxing had to be careful because for a long time, the best seemed to be in boxing, avoiding each other. Like when I think just about Golovkin and obviously Canelo and Mayweather, and for me, and I show me age here, but I grew up on tales of Leonard, Hagler, Haynes,
Duran.
And obviously Roberto Duran, the four kings, and the book that's written about that, all fighting against each other, the best of the best. And then grew up watching, as we talked about earlier, Steve Collins, Chris Eubank, Nigel Benn, Calzaghe, Frotch, all that era. Yeah. As a fan of boxing, that's all I am, or of combat sports. You want to see the best play the best. You want to see Ronaldo and Messi or Mbappe, or that's 100%. What any fan wants to see. And the fact that we've got Fury and Ngannou, and I was the same as you. I'm like, Francis is going to get his head jabbed off. He's not going to get near Tyson.
Which he should have.
And he actually won the fight, if we're honest.
I mean...
Even if he didn't, it was a moral victory.
Listen, it's a moral victory. Listen, he does far better. Just because you do better than everyone else, it doesn't mean you've actually won. But I'm not going to lie. I give Fury a draw at best.
It was close. It was close.
I mean, listen,
you'll know better.
I'm not gonna lie. I was very relieved when Fury's arm got lifted, because it's just an absolute, makes a mockery of our sport.
So I think I watched the Fury documentary. So I watched it, obviously, when he's done a bit of an Ozzy Osbourne type documentary. I haven't watched it. And he's clearly a mad cat in terms of
he's actually a really nice lad.
No, in terms of his mind's hyperactive by the look of it. He turns up to go and see the world's strongest man, and he goes, right, we're all going to Iceland to see him, and gets there with all his mates, and he's not even in the country. Like, he hasn't fingered to phone ahead to see if he's actually just very impulsive. So I'm looking at it going, obviously, the Ngannou fight in Saudi Arabia, they're obviously getting absolutely weighed in for it. I'm thinking Ngannou's like, okay, this is my chance to shock the world. So he's going to be highly motivated, in incredible shape. And Tyson is tough to read, because even if he goes into a mad camp, he doesn't, look in incredible shape. He's like me and you, Toe. No matter how hard we train, lad, we're not getting on the cover of Men's Health. We just have these strange bodies.
We're not, but at the same time, he says he does a mad camp and then weighs in a career heaviest.
So again, he did look massively like he'd not given it Francis the respect he was due.
Just weighs it, Joe. The scales never lie. So when you say I've had the camp of my lifetime, I'm not gonna. There's no other way to get it. The scales will tell you.
All right. So, and again, it's dangerous in your game, because you get in that ring, no one cares whether you're 100% fit or 80% fit or 70 or carrying an injury. You're either getting sparked out, or you're sparking someone out, or you're getting a job done. No one gives a bollocks.
Because on the Thursday at the press conference, you've been gone. I'm in the best shape of my life. I've had the best camp of my life, and you've boxers are the best liars in the world. Yeah. Because they sit in front of the world at a table and go, I'm in the best shape ever. Well,
and on art, and this is not trying to downplay Ngannou's fighting qualities, percentage-wise, Fury at 50% fitness, less?
I don't think it's down to the fact of how fit he is. I'm not lying, he's been training and doing whatever. He's just supposed to walk in the park. The worst thing in boxing is, once you get in it, it's like, the best thing I can liken it to and relate it to is when AJ fought Andy Ruiz. Right. So when AJ fights Andy Ruiz in New York, I'm there. I'm ringside watching the fight, and I can't believe what's unfolding in front of my eyes. AJ weighs in. He's supposed to fight Jarrell Miller. Jarrell Miller fight falls through. Big baby. Next thing, I think there's about 3 weeks or 2 weeks, he gets called in because Jarrell's failed the drugs test, whatever have you.
Oh, yeah, he went another one. Yeah.
He fails the drug test. He's on all kinds of drugs. I mean, he's one molecule away from being the Hulk. That's how many drugs he's got in his system.
X-Man.
Mate, I'm telling you now, he was unbelievable. So AJ weighs in, and he's at the press conference with Andy Ruiz. Andy Ruiz asks him for a selfie. Can we have a selfie? I can't believe this is happening. He just played everyone for a fool. He's also
small, isn't he, Ruiz, for a heavyweight as well?
He's small, and he basically looks like Johnny Vegas.
Yeah, he was a bit of a dumpling.
That is the best way to explain it. He was Johnny Vegas asking for a selfie. And in AJ's mind, AJ's trained now. He's in unbelievable shape. He's ready to do a job on Miller. He's got a new fight in front of him. He's just a little fat fella. And that's what's in AJ's mind. Now, it doesn't matter what he wants to say in this fight. I'm in the great shape, whatever. His mindset, and this is what people will never understand until you've been in a boxing ring. Once you tell yourself, he's done him.
Easy night's work.
Mate, he's just getting done. When it gets hard, you can't switch and reverse it. I don't know why, but...
Well, we've all done that in sport in terms. It's hard because you realise, oh fuck, I've massively come in with the wrong energy, and now I'm trying to change.
And that's what he done against Andy Ruiz in the first fight, and Tyson Fury just done that against Francis Ngannou. Might have been thinking he was in fight shape, but he's got in. Francis Ngannou's gone on the back foot, not doing exactly. Fury just expected him to run on like a caged animal and start swinging for the lights. He didn't. He went on the back foot, counter-punched Fury, and hit him with a few shots. He's not the biggest puncher. Technically, he's not even a big puncher in boxing, Ngannou. He's actually just a really strong athlete and very powerful.
Looks like he's a quick learner as well.
He's learning the basics. I'm quite confident in saying the British champion would beat Francis Ngannou right now.
Right.
I think Anthony Joshua will knock Tyson. I think Anthony Joshua will knock Francis Ngannou out.
But again, this is the thing for me. This confidence thing of, I know he looked better in his last fight.
Yeah.
But again, I haven't seen what happened with Fury. And obviously, Ngannou's a big dude. AJ, I think it's a brave fight for him in terms of, because if he gets clipped.
Oh, listen, but he's not a big technically. His punches aren't thrown correctly.
You're well more qualified than me.
But what I will say is one thing Ngannou will be is mentally stronger than a lot of them. Because what that man's been through, what that fella's been through in life.
Mining since he was 12.
So, mate, what he's been through in life, he's on a different stratosphere to all of these boxers and all these fighters. That's one thing I'll say about him.
So is there a party you're buzzing for him that he got a payday against?
I'm made up. And Francis Ngannou should. I'm made up for him because I've loved watching him since.
But again, where does he go to? So let's just say Joshua continues his progress and does what you're expecting to do. He goes back then.
I expect Josh to stop Francis Ngannou, and then I expect Francis Ngannou to land back in the UFC.
All right.
And
fight Johnny Jones.
I don't think there's no coincidence why Jon Jones all of a sudden reappears when Francis Ngannou goes missing out of the UFC. Do you?
Well, it does seem a bit of a coincidence, doesn't it? But also, how can you question Jon Jones? Do you know what I mean? He's flattened everyone over the course of time.
He's the greatest mixed martial artist ever. I agree with that.
There's no way Johnny Jones fears anyone.
Mate, I'm telling you, there's no coincidence he came back to the UFC with a cape on.
But you know that mindset more than anyone. He's undefeated there, Jon Jones.
He is, but listen, he's been pushed to the limit. And did he beat Gustafsson the first time? I don't know. It's a killer fight, and there's been other fights where
Reyes was a big one.
The Reyes fight was a really close one, but
again, was he in that thing of what we spoke about with Ngannou? I'll beat him easy.
And then he's got into the matter of, because a prime Jon Jones is like, he's formidable, but Joe, it's the only man I've ever seen able. I mean, how do you think Jon Jones is going to beat Francis Ngannou? Because he ain't knocking him out. I'm sorry.
But even it's on the ground, isn't it? It's on the ground.
So it's on the ground. I genuinely believe that man is physically strong enough to separate your arms on a choke.
He is, but that's where Jones wins the fight on the ground.
Yeah, but I just don't, you're not keeping him there. He's just too strong. Like he's a bull.
I know. And listen, it's a fight you all want to see. I hope we do get to see it.
Did you see when he fought Derek Lewis? The wind off the punch that missed his chin put him down. The wind off the punch.
I remember being in the Hilton. Must have been a show on. You must have been fighting on it in the Echo. And I remember meeting Anthony Joshua in there, and I was just shocked by how big he was.
Still lump.
Like, and when he was struggling, and Ruiz, and obviously people were going, he's this and he's that, and I'm thinking, you don't realise how big that man is. He's like, and I know you, and I always remember they were saying that there was one point where they were saying, would you fight if you kept on doing? And I remember you saying, you're joking, aren't you? The size of him.
Yeah, he's massive. I wouldn't go anywhere near him, but
again, on the flip side of it,
Josh is an animal, but you just. A mindset's got a lot to do with all sports.
But again, I'm just going to pull you back there, because on the other side of that, Joshua Ngannou leads us into a man you have fought, Alexander Usyk, fighting Tyson Fury for undisputed champion of the world.
Yeah,
you're probably one of the few people on earth who can give some kind of understanding, because everyone thinks Usyk's small.
No, he's not. He's the same size as me. He's 6 foot 3, and he's a bit. I'd say he's heavy. No, he's not.
But everyone you speak to well, Fury's too big. He's tiny. Yeah. Usyk, I'm like, he's not small.
To be fair, I don't think Tyson Fury's 6'9".
So Lomachenko's, Vasily Lomachenko, and this Ukrainian almost like a boxing genius, where his dad had him training all different ways, hand-eye coordination, went into ballet and all that as a young man. And Usyk's part of the same kind of stable, same kind of ilk, albeit...
He's been in and around them, but he actually doesn't train him, so he didn't train him for the AJ fight, didn't train him for the bar fight, but he comes in now and again. I'm pretty sure the father will be part of the camp for this.
So would you say, To, Usyk's the best fighter you've faced?
By a mile.
All right.
No one's even close.
In terms of skill set, in terms,
the power's not a big thing. Even though he stopped me, I mean, listen, he made me that tired. Me nana to stop me in that going out for that 8th round. But he is just so good. Like, I can't explain to you.
They say it takes the first few rounds to work you out, like download you.
Well, after 8 rounds, I'm up on the cards, on 2 cards, and on the Ukrainian scorecard, and I'm drawing. So I'm up with 8 rounds in the fight, and I'm up, and he's very, very well. I don't think he's ever behind that after halfway through a fight. So my boxing ability, once again, the only good thing I've got. I'm beating him to the punch. I'm counter punching him well. I'm drawing him in. I'm making him make mistakes. But it took so much energy, Joe, to do that.
What, you had to be switched on all the time?
Mate, like, it's like he's constantly there. It's like there's no break in the. There's no break. There's no movement. His feet were so good. Like, it's only that much space between us. His front foot is always that far away from me. It's never that close. It's never that far away. It's always there, and it's at a range where he can just go hop bang, and.
So is that superb ability, To? Is that superb it's understanding of fighting?
It's normal to him. So he's done it for that long. It doesn't tire him to do it. Whereas it's never been done to me. People have tried to do it and apply front foot pressure, but I'll just step away and come back. And my feet are good. That was the one thing about me. I had good feet for boxing. And
you reckon that's off the back of you were playing decent football?
I kickboxed as a kid, so I was always light on my feet. Right. And my kicking weren't too bad, but then I loved playing football. And football does make you move, sharp foot movements. Yeah. I'd say it's like people want to see Usain Bolt play football. His speed is irrelevant on a football pitch. I know people will laugh at me saying that.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
It's not the same.
No, you're right, yeah.
Because if he has to twist and turn and run, I'm sorry, he's not going to get there. There'll be players on a football pitch who, on a football pitch, are faster than Usain Bolt because they twist, turn, they go faster.
Plus, your first 2 yards are in your head as well.
But don't get me wrong, if any of them get into a 10-metre race, he's going to absolutely leg them.
But again, he'd be in the stand, he'd be over the advertising orders and in the stand. We've all played with them headless chickens who are quick, do you know what I mean? In terms of, I know exactly what you're saying. Like, he is raw speed, and I've seen him play in the charity games.
Yeah.
And once he gets going, he's gone. But again, as you said, the stop-start.
Of course, you stop-start and then the twist and the turning. But in boxing, the footwork is... It's a technical thing, and then you've also got to do your study, and you've got to know what you're watching. You've got to see what you're approaching for, and that was the one thing I had in my favour. There's only a very few trainers now who study the game like I was doing it when I was fighting. Ben Davidson's one of them, the kid who's training Anthony Joshua now.
Yeah,
they study the game religiously, and they're like.
Was he was Fury's renaissance
coming
back?
Yeah, mate. He helped Tyson come back, and he's a good coach now. I think more of him because of he's so thorough with his analysis of the fights and how he breaks fighters down. Don't get me wrong, you can go too deep with it, but I think he goes so deep that, I mean, he figures everything out. I used to do the analytical side of them and analyse them and break them down. I'd see the flaws before they even make them. I'd know certain drills and patterns that are in play before they were going to do it. So when I fought Haye, I knew so much about him.
It's very similar to our world in terms of studying the opponent, looking for those weaknesses in them, watching previous games.
You've got to know what they're going to do before they do it. Yeah. But ultimately then you've got to be able to carry out that plan.
Well, everyone has a tell-so. So even all the best players out there, you must be the same when you prepare for a fighter. You're looking... Obviously, we're all aware of the strengths and go, right, he's really good at that. We can't let him pull get 5 yards. He pulls the trigger from there, whatever. So you're always, I always found, similar when you're watching your Stevie Gerrards or preparing for Patrick Vieira's, you're looking at more of the strengths going, oh, hell, he's good at that, he's good at that.
Yeah.
But you're basing your performance around where you do see those chinks of light to go, all right, he's brilliant at all those things, but that's where I think I can get him, whether it's a certain combination or maybe if you for you boxers it's all feint, isn't it? And as
but then ultimately you've got to actually be good enough to pull it off. And when you're in the ring with someone like Usyk, I'm good enough, and I'm doing it for 8 rounds or for 7 rounds, and then I go out at the end of round 7, I get on the stool, speak to the legs, me coach Caldwell, And he said, are you tired? And now bear in mind, I'd sparred 12, 15 rounds on the Friday before the fight, flying with 3 different sparring partners and was beating them up, was giving it to them. Now, I was exhausted.
So do you think that's the tempo he's getting you to fight at?
Just what he was doing to me.
The pressure he's putting on you, or the nervous energy of knowing you were facing somebody at that level?
He's not a puncher, but and then you say, I've been fighting at that level for years. So when you're fighting David Haye, he's the former unified cruiserweight champion of the world. He's the former heavyweight champion of the world. I'm no stranger to big scenes.
He'd lost his air of invincibility, hadn't he?
Well, he had, but
not to you, because he was bigger than you.
He was heavyweight. But the 2 comeback fights he just smashed 2 fellas and knocked them both out at ease. And everyone's going, oh my God, David Haye's back. Look at the shape he's in. Look at how great he is. But then, because I beat him, all of a sudden he's washed up.
I thought you beat him in the psychological stakes in the build-up to it as well. I thought
the first fight, it's hard because his Achilles snaps and there's no getting away from that. I mean,
just talk me through that. So in terms of you're in the fight and obviously... You've said a lot in the build-up to it.
Yeah,
and he's a bigger fella than you in terms. So you've had the bollocks to fight a bigger fella.
Once again, he's actually the same dimensions as me. He's 6'3". I'm 6'3", because he's got an afro that nearly touches the ceiling. Everyone goes.
But I always perceive, and I knew because I remember him fighting the French fella David Haye,
Jean-Marc Momet,
and he had a tough night with him.
Yeah,
and they were talking about him being a heavyweight champion. I remember he fought the big, massive Russian.
Nikolai Valuev.
Like the big zombie, weren't he? Big beast. He was, but he was huge.
Oh, mate, he was 7'2", biggest heavyweight champion ever.
And then, but there was always the thing about David Haye not being big enough to fight the heavyweights, because he was like a blown-up cruiser.
I would actually say he's one of the biggest, if not pound for pound, the biggest puncher this country's produced.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
He's one of them. Yeah. As a puncher, like... The headache I had after that fight, I had a headache for 4 days after the first fight. He just kept whacking me on the back of the head.
But I never, even when you fought him, I always thought you were, even though you were a cruiserweight, I always thought you were a bit smaller.
No, I am, my frame, so he's got more muscle, but it's mad. When we work together now, I'm far bigger than him.
All right.
But when we were fighting, the muscle mass on him, make of that whatever you will, but he was, when we weighed in at that fight, you can see it the weigh-in. I'm just standing there looking at him, and look at him, but isn't he beautiful?
But weren't that your style a little bit as well? Because I don't think people ever give you the credit for how good of a boxer you was in terms of tactician, strategically.
Everyone wrote me off, and I think I was like 8-1 with the bookies in a 2-horse race. It's madness. But
I remember it,
It's just... So, and I get it. I was like, I understand why he's all writing me off, but what you don't see is that I'm used to fighting, and now David Haye's greatest ever strength and what he has over every fighter it's his speed. His speed is what catches people, because you don't see it coming. Now, I'd been fighting after guys 2 stone lighter than him, so believe you me, they were all quicker than him. And then I was cruiserweight world champion. Guys were just as fast as him now, because he's now a heavyweight. So that going as a heavyweight took a little bit of his speed away. And I told Johnny Nelson, I told everyone in Sky.
I remember the build up to it.
I was saying to them, you don't understand. He's not going to catch me with his speed. It's not going to be a shock. Don't get me wrong. If I get greedy and I get over anxious and he clocks me with a clean right hand, I'm going to kill.
Oh no, you box his head off. I think that's what shocked everybody, was how easily you outboxed him.
Well, in the first fight, before the first 5 rounds, so in the first fight, it's just a bit of I've wound him up so much. He comes in the short,
swinging,
so I know his temperament already. He wears black shorts for the first fight. Whenever David puts black on, it means he's really angry. He just wants to take your head off, and he's going to get ready to knock it out when he sees fit. I knew that because I was wise enough to appoint someone who was in his team. Dave Calder was part of Haymaker Promotions. I knew that in the build-up all the way through, and Dave would feed me little bits of information all the way through. So the minute I knew he chose black was the minute I knew his head was absolutely fucked.
Yeah, he got under
so he gets in the ring, and I'd wound him up, mate. I'd really, really annoyed him in the whole build-up. So,
and how much of that psychological? Because I always remember reading about Leonard, and he said Duran had chased his missus down the street in Vegas and started shouting at his missus.
Yeah, he did.
And he said he got back to the hotel and his missus had said, listen, he's abused me, he's verbally abused me in the street. And he said, I just wanted to kill him. Yeah. And he said he won the fight off the back of that. I came in with that mindset.
Well, I'd done the same thing. I wound him up that much. And he literally wanted to kill me. And look at how he comes out in the first bell. He's swinging for the lights, and I'm just making him miss, slip, roll, slide. And after 5 rounds, I think he's 3-2 up just purely on aggression. I've won 2 rounds, but he's won 3. And then we come up for round 6. And if you ever look at the fight, look at round 5 at the end of round 5. At the end of round 5, I've looked at him and said, you're fucked now. I've said, you're blowing out your ass. David's someone
And he had a little spell of inactivity. Like, what happened to him? Because I remember, who beat him? Someone gave him he shouldn't have lost.
He lost to Klitschko. He lost to Klitschko and then he went missing for a bit. And he just had a lot of time off. Then he comes back.
Because he won the belt off that big Russian, didn't he?
He wins it off Bellew. Then he fights Johnny Ruiz in a first defence in Manchester, if I'm right in thinking. He smokes him. No, he fights Monty Barrett first, he smokes him. Then he fights John Ruiz, he smokes him. Then he goes into the fight with Nikolai Bellew. With Vladimir Klitschko after defending his heavyweight title twice. I think I'm right in thinking that. Or it might be another way around. But them 3 fights are close there or thereabouts anyway.
You can Google it anyway.
So then, after all that, he loses to Klitschko and he goes missing for the year. But then he comes back and he looks absolutely amazing. He's put on a load of muscle. He's in great shape. And he fights 2 heavyweights. One called Mark Damori, who fought the other week. And he smokes him in a round or 2, I think. And then he fights a fellow called Giraj, who's another undefeated heavyweight. He fights 2 undefeated heavyweights back to back. And he's now staking claim because he wants to fight he wants to fight Anthony Joshua. And Sky have got this all set up that when he smokes me, he fights AJ.
All right.
And everyone knows about it and everyone's in on it. And Eddie, even my own promoter thought I was going to lose. Eddie was pretty honest. Once again, I said he's always honest.
So are you seeing? Are you going? You're obviously going. I can fucking beat him.
I'm world champion now. Yeah. I'm bringing Sky to David A's previous 2 fights against Mark.
But you're also thinking I'm going to get weighed in to fight him.
Yeah, well, I'm world champion. I've made the first defence against his mate BJ Flores, and I'm out to negotiation. They come to me first and made me an offer, David A, to fight David A live on. It was live, going to be on BT, well, it's TNT now. I reject the offer. And say no, this is before I'm world champion. I know I'm on his radar now. But the best part about it is I know he wants to fight me because he sees money in me. So once I've become world champion, he's now fighting on Channel Dave.
Yeah, I remember it.
Channel Dave. I watch Channel Dave. It's a great channel. I watch it when Bullseye's on. It's absolutely brilliant. Look at what you could have won. So, so I was watching that now. When I'm now world champion, my name's up in lights and I'm defending my world title. So I'm now a viable option for David A to get back on Sky box office because me v David A is box office material. Yeah. But I now know, and I've gone to Eddie and I've seen Eddie.
So has he been fucking you off for years? Have you?
No, he asked me to join Haymaker Promotions again and said to me, fight me. I'll give you a fight on the undercard, then you'll fight me in a heavyweight bout. But I wasn't world champion, I was only European champion at this stage. And he's just thought, it'll be a few quid and, that'll be a fear. And I've gone no, rejected the offer. But then once I'm world champion, he's seen the real value in me then. He's seen big money and pound signs. And he's just thought I'm going to be a walk in the park. And to be fair, like I said before, at the end, thought I was going to lose. Sat down at a table like this, meeting Eddie, and said, right, we're going to fight David A, this, and this. I said, you're going to sort it out.
You 8-1 for a 2-horse contest, lad. The way you weren't the only one.
Mate, it's absolute mad. So I said to him, if you don't think I'm going to win, do you? And he went, no. He said, I think you're the best cruiserweight in the world. I don't think you're the best heavyweight. And it's going to take the best heavyweight in the world to beat David A because of how good he looked in them previous 2 fights. So he actually took a less percentage than he usually takes because he thought I was going to lose. So that's why I say to you, he's honest. We shook hands and we done a deal. I beat David A. But like I said before... Did he have a rematch clause? No,
or you just...
and that's where the real money came in. So for the first David A fight, I made 5 times more than my whole career combined.
So he's thinking he's going to flatten you then if he doesn't even put...
No,
put
that's
that
what I'm saying.
there.
That's how cocky he was. That's how arrogant. and we get on. We're not mate, but we are, I suppose...
I seen that thing a few weeks ago where you went and I thought... I heard you say he was better and I thought, he fucking went. You fucking beat him twice.
No, what it is, I've beat him twice and
you can't beat someone twice and he doesn't beat you once, so he's better than you.
Now, if you said to me, I'd face David A 10 times, I'll beat him 9 times out of 10. He's gonna catch me at one of them with one of them.
But he hasn't out of 2.
2 out of 2 he hasn't. No, but 9, I'm not stupid. If I fight him 10 times, he'll get me 1 out of them 10. But I'll beat him 9 times out of 10, which on a whole means you're the better fighter. But I'm no qualms or claims. He's a better fighter than me because his career will go down as a better than me. But I'll beat him every time.
Yeah,
but what he's done in his career, he's unified.
There's lads have played against who have got the number, but have had a better career,
of
with
course,
more trophies.
Unified every. Unified.
But your sport's different because there is when you've ran into each other like you have, you know who's the best fighter.
I know, but people will look at David A's career and look at mine and they'll go, he's had a world better career.
Yeah, but as I say to you, I played against loads of players who have gone, if you didn't have them in your team and it was just me and you on the cobbles, you're losing. But you have won and you finished above us because you've got better. But in your game, no one can argue that, because David A might think I done X, Y, and Z, but at the end of the day, there's two.
But then he's actually got a better resume than me.
Doesn't matter. You punch his head in when you beat him.
I know, twice as well. But,
twice.
But I do. But like I said, that's me, and that's how I look at boxing. Boxing is a very specific sport where you'll go, right, I've beat David A twice, but I think there's fighters he's beat who I wouldn't have beat.
Yeah.
And that's because styles make fights.
Yeah.
It's like when you're playing in a football match. It's like if Fulham beat Liverpool tomorrow, are Fulham better than Liverpool? They just beat them.
But in your sport, it's mano a mano. It's one-on-one. Like, so our sport, you can argue there's a lot more variables.
It's like amateurs who beat me. So
but your sport, when that cage door closes or the ring and everyone leaves, it's just you find out who's the best. And when you've on done 2 occasions, one, you go, do you know what, he's had a bad night. So you look at, as I say, Liam Smith and Chris Eubank, you go, as Liam had a good night in the first one, Chris had a bad one, and then the opposite's happened in the second one. So you naturally would go, there's going to be a trilogy. You look at yours and you go, well, for 2-0, you can't really have a third fight open.
And I think that, but then people at the same time then go to me, well, you didn't really beat David A, did you? Because you only had one leg. And I go, okay, but in the second fight, it was perfect.
Yeah, but he didn't at the start of the fight.
I know. So where he said, and if you remember his words were before the first fight was, you have no say in this fight. This fight ends when I want it to end. There's nothing you can do that stops me doing what I want to do. And he genuinely believed that. Like I said to him, we've sat down since the fights have all finished. And I've gone to him, why didn't you ever put a rematch clause in? He said, Tone, he said, if you would have told me you were going to win, I'd have said you are insane. Yeah.
But again, as a fighter, you've got to have that mindset, haven't you? You can't believe, or and I know everyone says to me, and I go, no, listen, on a Friday in the hotel, you think, oh, fucking hell, this is who I'm playing tomorrow. This is all, that fear comes in. I can't imagine for you lads, because you're going, oh my God, am I going to get knocked out?
But he didn't have that. And I didn't have it, to be fair. Like the night before the first fight, mate, I was made up. I was so happy. In the ring before the first fight, I was dancing to his walkout music because I love Luther Vandross.
So you're ready to go though as well. Is that supreme confidence? And also, so let's be honest, he's got everything to lose, because if he's 8-1 on, he's expected to get you out of there really quickly.
Up to see me get my head smashed in, and everyone's there, and then slowly but surely I turn them, and they go from booing me in to cheering me in,
which is the ultimate. That's Maximus in the Colosseum, lad. In it, that is the ultimate.
Well, on his patch in London, mate, it was nice, but then, as I say, the rematch, it puts it all to bed, and then I do him viciously in the rematch, get rid of him in 5 rounds, don't take a single punch. That is, for me, the best performance of my career.
Yeah, I thought you were even better.
The rematch, I had so much going on in my personal life as well. It was a mess after losing on Ashley.
So is that happening at the same time?
That happened in between the 2 fights.
My God.
I lost my brother-in-law, yeah.
So I just want to pull you back to Adonis Stevenson. So you fought cleverly.
Yeah.
So that's you got a chance of being world champion. Doesn't quite go to plan. Yeah. 2011. Then you're back up to fight Adonis Stevenson, who at the time, I remember carrying this. No one wants to fight him.
Yeah.
So you've got to go into
Quebec
backyard.
Yeah.
And as you say, doesn't go to plan. So you've now gone for a world title twice. But again, you being you've gone back then and you beat cleverly a couple of fights later.
In a make or break fight.
Make or break. I remember it being.
If I'd have lost that fight, my career would have been over. And I also wouldn't have done the Rocky movie, because that was on the table. And I said, if I lose the cleverly fight, I'm just going to disappear.
So in terms of size of fight and what it meant, I know there's some big fights in there, but in terms of what you've got at stake, the second cleverly fight,
it was
probably a fork in the road.
What was expected of me? I'd say I had the movie for Creed contract on the table at my house, and I wouldn't sign it until I'd fought cleverly in rematch, because they offered me the gig 14 weeks before the cleverly fight. So I had that on the table to be a movie star. No one knew about it. I kept it hidden from everyone. No one knew. My wife knew, and my right-hand man knew. Nobody else knew. Anywhere else in the world, no one knew besides Sylvester Stallone, Ryan Coogler, director.
It's fucking mad when you think about the Rocky films. I think you were going to be in a movie with them.
The Warner Brothers Studios knew. I'm sorry, the chairman, the late Bill Kenwright.
So are the rumours true? There was rumours that you were the last one who went in to see that Weinstein to get a role, in the... that not right?
You're not wrong. You're not fucking well, you. I would have come near me. They'd been in a pine box way before he got in.
With your
is
mate,
he dead or is he alive?
No, he's still alive.
I'd have put him in a pine box, lad.
hey, listen, that's what you had to do to get a role, clearly, didn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Jesus Christ.
It makes you look through old movies with a slightly different slant, doesn't it? I think.
So, yeah, I had that on the table, the Creed contract, and I just had to get past Cleverly, who everyone had thought had beat me. Well, I knew I'd beat him, and I just knew as soon as it was at cruiserweight, he had no chance at all. So then I just bulldozed him in a terrible fight, just bullied him for 12 rounds, roughed him up, got rid of him. And then I went off to do the movie Creed, came back after that, won a few more fights, then won the European title, which was a hard fight.
European title against
Matthias Masternach.
In London.
Yep, on AJ Dillian White undercard.
You must have had a good Christmas there, 2015. That's 12th of December, so you've obviously killed yourself and obviously won the fight.
I had 2 scratched eyeballs. My face was a mess after that fight. One of my hands was fractured, broken.
He sounds Polish, is he, Masternach?
Yeah,
Polish?
he's just fought Chris Billum-Smith and was giving it to him for about 6 or 7 rounds, and then just stopped off a body shot. I might have been more than 6-7 rounds, but he's still going now.
Still going, and then obviously Makumbu, Goodison,
Goodison Park, and then I flattened him.
That wasn't going to. I remember the early round. Did you get dropped?
First round, got my nose snapped and dropped in the first round.
What are you thinking there when you're like,
I just fell out with kicks.
Did you stop him in the 5th?
No, I stopped him in the 3rd.
Oh, 3rd,
flatlined him in the 3rd. Yeah. So I flattened, mate. I was just so nervous for that fight. I've only been nervous for 2 fights in my life. My first
you've obviously come out with Goodison, Z cars, and that's everything you've dreamt of, innit? It's how you, yeah.
My first ever amateur fight I was nervous for. I fought a guy called Rob Beach in Heighton Suite.
Heighton Suite in our village, Heighton Village, yeah.
Heighton Suite.
Remember all the boxing shows?
My first ever fight was in Heighton Suite. I fought Rob Beach and I flattened him in the 3rd round. I dropped him and stopped him.
Do you know what? I was going to sound mad. I used to always go to them. I'm almost certain I was there.
Stockbridge JBC, I was fighting in a white and purple vest.
Because all the clubs would come, wouldn't they? Because there was a lad who was a year older than me, Stephen Lachen, lived next door but one to me, and his dad, Frank, was ABA. Never went into the pros, but he was a lighter weight. And as I say, Bryn Furlong and Eugene Furlong and all that, they all boxed. They were in our school. My granddad on my nan's side, Tommy Culshaw, was Navy boxing champion, I think. And if you ever remember, Peter Culshaw was like, was he a strawweight world champion or something?
Cully was flyweight, he was something else.
Yeah, he was like growing up, they were like, that's our cousin, and he was like a 7 stones.
Choir boy.
The choir boy, yeah. So my granddad, Tommy Culshaw and Bryn started out in ABC. As I say, I give up when I got jabbed in the face a few times and I didn't know what to do with it. I thought I can't have this.
Feet, like you can't have it all.
Well, I always thought it was a bit safer to play football. My belief was if you're in school and you were big and strong, but you couldn't play footy, you ended up going into rugby or rowing or boxing.
Why'd you have to be hard to row?
Well, not so much hard, but big and strong toe, do you know what I mean? And then we had a wrestling coach by us, Tony Collins, who I think still British, under 70. I think he's like 70 and he's under 60 or under 50 world Roman Greco wrestling. This predates UFC. All them lads ended up getting into MMA and all that a little bit later on. But for me, it was either football, boxing, the military, or crime. They were the only options, really.
I understand that one, mate, yeah.
We didn't have many options, and when I see now all the ball games and the boxing clubs going and the community centres going, I go, you know, and I seen the thing and I want to get onto it, something there, knives down, gloves up, the charity, is it a charity you're involved in?
Weapons down, gloves up. Well, do you know what? I've stepped back because we've done the football match, and at the minute I'm stepping back. We were doing really, really well, getting kids into full-time employment, stuff like that. And then there's just been so much go on that I'm not going to put on here, but people's agendas have changed and I don't know where I'm at with it now. I've never took a single penny from it, and if anything, it's cost me a fortune with me costs of getting here, there and everywhere, doing things, missing days of work, missing weeks of work at a time, and I never took any money, I never had any money paid to me, and then I don't know, everything just seems it's up in the air with it all, and I
it's been politicised or it's lost
it's a little bit political, and then also just the people that started the thing off, I just don't know where they're at. And then, as I say, money plays a factor in everyone's mind. And do you know what, Joe, to be honest, I never done anything for it for money. All I want to do is just give back to where I'm from. Yeah, and this city, I'm passionate about helping the kids because this government aren't going to help us. Yeah. Governments, everyone north of the Watford Gap, they think we're a dickhead.
Well, you've seen that with the HS2 tow, didn't you, in terms of, all these plans for the North and connecting North to South. And we're lucky, as I say, we get out and see the world via being good at sport and meet loads of people. And you realise just what a great city Liverpool is, but then also how it's been left behind by
Do you understand
successive
twice the
governments.
amount of money and funding is given to the South and is the North, twice the amount. It's an absolute disgrace.
There is a huge North and South divide. You can
no
feel
one,
it.
Yeah, but Southerners don't really know it. They don't get it. It's just up here. We know. So when I done the Jungle recently, like I basically gave it to Farage. I said it's a disgrace. I said I hope Margaret Thatcher's burning in hell. I said I hope she's on fire right now. What she's done to this country, what she's done to our people, she tried to turn us on our own, turn us against each other, took away the mines, took away the docks, took away every way we can earn money and make our country stronger. You just victimised us. You just done us over, mate.
But that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, the people of Liverpool, the resilience in spite of kind of what's gone on. As I say, for me, a huge thing, and I don't know about you, a big turning point for me in my life was COVID. I grew up, as I say, I can remember Hillsborough, I can remember, just mooching about as a kid, and obviously, you grew up, certainly Huyton, where I'm from. Huyton, our former MP was Harold Wilson, so Huyton's one of the only towns, I think it's the only town that's had a sitting Prime Minister, obviously Labour Prime Minister, but Knowsley, I think, has got the second highest unemployment rate in the country, and at last checking, it didn't have a sixth form provision. So if you want to get into sixth form, you have to go outside the borough. So, in terms of opportunities for people, if you're not creating chances to get a job or get a higher education, to get a trade, what opportunities are you giving them? And as we know, so in Liverpool, you can easily get in trouble, even if you've got great parents and they're trying to do everything you can for you, because, the challenges that life throws at you. Not everybody's talented at, for us it was sport. We managed to find a boxing club or a football team to turn up at, and you get a coach who believes in you, and then you realise, oh my God, I'm actually good at this and I'm getting some self-worth from it. And as it is, we end up going and making a name for ourselves and providing opportunities for our kids that maybe we never had. When I get into kind of your career, a career that, when you get to the end of it, if you've been really, really good, you can have very, very harsh, long-term injuries because, we're seeing with, the CTE and, brain damage, dementia. We're getting a bigger, people are talking about us head and balls, too many balls now out at the near post. I was brilliant in the near post.
No one cares about boxers, mate.
But it's totally different for you lads in terms of...
Everyone's going on about rugby now and certain sports and CTE, and they're going on kids shouldn't be heading football.
Do you worry about that, though?
It's coming, mate. I know it's coming. I've accepted that. I accepted it when I signed up for it. And it's just something I'm going to have to deal with. But what's the point in winning?
But they always say, don't they, it's better to be a lion for a day than a rat for a lifetime. So we go into sport knowing, we're going to get injuries. I've got broken bones, obviously not at the level you have, broken bones, knee operations, blah, blah, blah. But I can't imagine when the brain is... the target for you, you're trying to punch through the back of someone's face into the brain.
My mind and my brain's got that much summer, it's coming, mate.
But you don't seem, like, there's loads of boxers I meet who are quite punch drunk, or you can see the effect on them, and I don't see that with you.
No, you don't, but...
Is that a good plastic surgeon?
I wish. But it's coming. Whatever trauma's happened or whatever damage is done to me inside my skull, you can't obviously see from the outside looking in, but I do know it's done. So as far as eyesight goes, I had amazing eyesight when I first turned professional. I'm at the stage now where every single year on my medicals, my eyesight decreased. So I'm
like that. Look at the steady bottles I've got on now.
I know I'm a couple of molecules away from needing the bins, but I put the proud part of me just can't put amongst. I know it's going to completely change my face, my demeanour, how people look at me. People might think I've lost a tackle or a little bit of...
So they say your temper gets a bit shorter and you say what you think. So if that's fucking you, God no, you're going to be like the nan off. What's the Catherine Tate? That's I always think. So if I get dementia or anything happens to me, I can't imagine what my filter would be like.
I know what. Listen, I know it's coming and I accept it when I signed up, and I don't make any excuses. I'll tell you what's terrible when you see fighters who have had injuries and then they try and sue people later on in life. and I'm seeing it go through a few different things, and I think it's an absolute disgrace. Listen, mate, you know what you signed up for.
Yeah, you know you're putting your body on the line, don't you? When you play any sport, especially yours,
any contact sport, and football is a contact sport. I understand it's completely different to fighting and combat sports, but you know what you're signing up for, and so do I. So I accepted it, mate. I chose to pursue this mad career, and I've done all right at it, and it's worked out well in the end. But by the time the shakes start and my memory gets even worse than it is already, then I'll know it's, listen, you signed up for it, lad. It is what it is.
And again, you know, I think back to, I've been reading a bit of George Orwell recently, and he's talking about the working conditions in the mines in 1930 and the wages they were getting and the trauma in the bodies and the life expectation. You know, in terms of us being 40 now and relatively good health, or you look relatively healthy, Tom. I know you'll have a few aches and pains on these cold mornings, but in terms of, you know, what you've achieved for your family, you know, in terms of the platform you've given your kids and hopefully their kids going forward, you've changed a generation of Bellews to be whatever they want, to give them the opportunity.
I've got a kid at university. I'm over them. I'm absolutely amazed. I've got my eldest boy's in uni. He's in Manchester Uni, and he's studying physiotherapy. He's a super bright kid.
He's one of your youngest has got a chance.
He's my eldest, and
as a footy player.
My other little. So I've got my 18-year-old Arcor, then I've got Arcoby, then I've got Carter, and then I've got Carson. So the 15, then 11, and then 3. So it's 4 now, actually.
So you've got all boys?
4 boys, mate. They say it takes a real man to have a girl, so I've got no fucking chance.
I've got 3 boys and a girl, so I've got a girl mixed in there. The girl's the one I don't worry about.
Oh, mate.
Honestly.
That's right.
Well, again, I've got all that to come, haven't I?
My worst fear was a girl. So me and Danzy's kids are similar, very similar age. We had our first kids together and our second kids.
So did you have kids young then?
Yeah.
Oh, your eldest 18?
First, yeah.
So my eldest 12, so you've gone 6, 24? So I thought I was old at 30. Like, so a couple of my mates had kids at like 19 and 20, and their kids are older now. And I don't know, you just do it the way you do it, what comes naturally to you.
There's a week between me and Neil, and yeah, our kids have been born at the same time. But when he had the baby, when he had this little girl, you must have seen on the kid's voice, she's an amazing singer.
Well, he's into his music
Neil
and that, dancing, and he's always
been his family and musical and stuff like that. His dad done the.
So is he playing for Grenada? Did they see him? Has he gone and played in a load of qualifiers for them?
Yeah, that's his national team, but I'm not sure he might have retired now. I think he's
he must be as old as me.
I know, he's still going, mate.
Still going strong, yeah.
I don't think he's retired internationally. He might have, because I think he just done a tournament recently, not long ago. We were together on Saturday night. We had the night out Saturday.
That's good, lad, Danzy.
So yeah, our missus are dead close mates, and me and him are obviously best mates. But yeah, once he had that little girl, that was him done. And then my silly girl wants a girl, but she can't have a girl.
So is that you done? No more?
Said that with the last one, mate.
You miss that baby though, don't you?
Mate, I don't.
My missus is the same way.
She's 4 years old, mate. I mean, she said, go and get the snip. I said, you fucking do that to dogs and horses. You're not doing that to me.
Well, you know what happened to Bruce Jenner after?
All right, lad. Don't.
What happened there? You know what I mean? That was after. I'm only saying that because I was winding my mate up who's had the snip. No, I've been saying my mate's a canary down the mine.
Me, fucking get it.
No, I'm still saying to my missus, like, are you sure? Because she's like, no, I'm sure, but it doesn't sound like. I think she is, but it doesn't sound like.
My bird says once a week. I think we should do it again. I said, don't think we should.
But again, if you've got 4 crackers, which it sounds like you've got,
mate, I've got.
You should bring the best into the world if you can. So I just want to tidy this up. So I've got the Goodison fight, which for me, I remember seeing your face in the win, and obviously. For me, I just remember thinking, here's our mate here ringing me Rich Derby.
I'm Richard. Potter Derby. Don't ever forget Potter Derby. Got me out of a few scrapes.
He's got Derby Potter here on mine. So he doesn't even know, that's serendipity, that he doesn't know I'm speaking to you today. So you go through, obviously, BJ Flores, you mentioned off the back of that. And then I remember hearing you do an interview, and you said, then I was making money for my family, obviously the 2 day fights. Once I won the world
title, it was no longer about, until I won the world title, I was just chasing that dream, being a world champion. I wasn't fighting for money. I know that sounds stupid, but I had a dream as a kid, and let's be honest.
That's the thing, in that fight there at Goodison, you've achieved my lifelong dream. That's what you've dreamt about as a kid.
That was a lifelong dream, and then...
So where'd you go from there?
Ideally, I'd like to have retired, and my missus got up on... I fought along with Maccabi on a bank holiday Sunday in Goodison Park, the 29th of May 2016, and in an ideal world, I'd have retired after landing that left hook on his chin, but I was so far away from financial security I couldn't. But I promised her on the Monday, sitting there reading that Echo with me on the front page, on my knees, crying with the WBC belt. And she said, "That's it now, you've done it all, haven't you?" And I went, "No." I said, "What do you mean?" I said, "We're so far away from finance." I'm old school. I don't believe in me missus having to put her work in to keep us financially. So she's so
I know exactly what you're on about here.
And that's
so
going to sound
you like to pay for dinner.
I saw
misogynistic.
Misogynistic.
So you like to hold doors open. You like to pay for dinner.
And I believe every man should do that.
You don't believe in splitting the bill.
You're fucking messing, aren't you? Imagine going to your bed, listen, girl.
Listen, the world's changed, lad.
Bill 60 quid, girl. 30 nicking out the purse now. I mean, get a grip. I mean, she likes to laugh and joke and go, "I paid for dinner a few times." You know, no, you fucking didn't.
Yeah, and there's something nice about being a provider. It's kind of that old school principles
I should be a
that
security, mate, whether it's a financial barrier, but then...
Just sleep near the door.
Yeah.
So if you go to a hotel room, the man should always sleep near the door.
Well, I'm not really in the hotel room because I've got that many things against the door before they can even get in anyway. You know what I mean? I'm awake, but in my house, I know sleep near the door.
It's seen as a bit strange for a man to be a man and be a strong man and say, "Look, I'm here to provide and protect."
For it now, and I don't like that. Well, I am, and that's the way I look at it. So when I won the world title, I told her, "We're still far away from financial because we've got a heavy mortgage on this house." It was a nice house that we had at the time, but I had a heavy mortgage. And I said, "Now I'm not chasing world titles. I said, I've achieved my dream." I had that dream before I had any kids. I had that dream before I was with her. And she knew I was going to give me life to get to that dream of being a WBC world champion. Once I got
did you class the WBC as like?
Oh,
you
mate,
got
that was the
creme de la creme. Is that
the green and gold belts? That's the one Muhammad Ali holds up. That's the one Mike Tyson parades. That's the one Floyd Mayweather ranks above them all. That's the one Sugar Ray Leonard's got in the pictures. And in the grand pictures, in the great boxing pictures you see of a fighter holding a world title, it's the green and gold belt they all have. That's the one they all want. John Conte, me hero, you know, and the greatest fighter Liverpool's one of them that he's ever produced. What's he got hold of? He's got hold of the WBC green belt. Paul Hodgkinson, what belts he got hold of? They've all got this green and gold belt, and I just like Julio Cesar Chavez. They all hold it, and I just wanted that belt.
So you've pictured yourself when you're in that gym killing yourself.
Yeah, I had no real interest in any other belt. I've got it tattooed on my arm. You know, it's on the inside of my bicep here. So that was the one.
You're a world champion. Do you know what I mean? So again, even if it's WBO or I know there's two other. Is it IBF?
There's the WBA, there's the WBO, there's the IBF and the WBC.
But you'd set your mind. That's the one you wanted.
I wanted the green and gold belt, and I always set about that. So when I said to her, right, she went to me because she thought I was just going to retire.
But this is what shocks me. I'm going to go on because you only had 34 fights, 30 wins, 3 losses. All right. The 34 fight obviously Usyk in Manchester, and then you don't fight again after that.
I know.
So
because I can't be the best no more, and it's no longer about money. I've got to double digits in the big ones. So then I'm just like,
and is that the thing of I can't be what you've been before in terms of challenging for world belts?
Once I'd become financially secured and I'd secured the family and the business was up and running and we've put everything in place that I set out to do. Usyk comes along. I was retired.
Yeah.
After beating David Haye the second time, I was on my honeymoon. My plan was to get married once I'm fully Plus,
it sounds like your missus saying to you, that's got to be you because you're still co-host mentors, you're still in good order. She doesn't want you to go one fight
before
too
the
far.
Haye fights, it was the only time I ever sent her away because he said he was going to put me in a coma. And I'm pretty honest. And she said to me, "Why is he saying that, Aunt?" And I said, "Because he's got the capabilities to do it." So she left and she went to Dubai for the fight. She didn't like it.
Because it can't be nice. You can't, I think my kids didn't really see me play football towards the back end, but it can't be nice to watch your dad get punched in the face because that's
when someone like him
or your husband.
When someone like him says they're going to do damage and he really wants to hit, and you know he does, and he means it, then you think you take precautions.
Well, again, your mum and dad kind of, they don't want to see you get it, and but your dad kind of, they kind of expect boys to be boys.
Yeah.
But then your wife thinking, my God, this is the breadwinner. This is the fella who we've built our future around.
So my dad was a bit different. My dad was close to me all the way through my career, and he's very close to me now. My mum's my mum. I love my mum, and she's brilliant. But my mum has never supported me on that stage of fighting. So
because you're her baby, she doesn't want to see you get punched in the face.
So she's never going to attach herself emotions to that kind of version of me. And she used to think I was always too soft to be a fighter when I was a younger kid growing up, and then she realised once I've left home, once I'm out of it, how horrible I can be. I'm a mate. When I'm in that fighting environment in that world, I'm horrible. I can be the most vicious and most ruthless person ever. And whenever I've got to be nasty, I can be really nasty. I can be really bad. But she's always seen the nice side of me. And me missus, me and missus always seen the nice side because she always thought I was too soft, me mum. And I get why she thought that. But it's only when she's obviously looked into things and seen what I've done and seen the things I'm capable of that she's gone, okay, well, this fuck all.
Yeah, well, you're capable of chaos, but obviously, you know, the fact that you don't do that, or you've controlled it, or you've sharpened that into earning you a few quid and securing your family.
My missus knew both sides, so she knew I could be the devil, and then she knew I can be she knows when I'm home and I'm in the four walls, I'm the nice person ever, but like I said, I've had so many different times in my life, and she's been witness to all of it. So she's been.
How do you find that now, though? So in terms of, like, obviously that's different when you're 24, 25, 30, 32. How do you find that now? Because for me, I always think if I was to have a little game of footy with someone, even though I'm 41, people are going, I might best enjoy Barton or footy or whatever that is. For you, do you find you're like, and I know you're a bit of a silver fox, you're like me, you haven't gone down the cherry blossom and trying to defy the age like some of the lads do, though, lad.
Go old gracefully.
Go old gracefully, no surgeries.
See, I don't.
Like, because that fighting instinct's in you, but also
it's in me. But
you've got to mellow as you get older.
No, it's in me, but like they don't see that no more. So like, as I said to you, I'm not fighting for not no more. I'm all right. I've done.
No,
okay.
I'm talking about the lads on the street, the next generation up and coming.
Yeah, they see it, but I don't put myself in them circles. Don't put myself around them because I know what's going to come. As I foresee problems, I don't.
Yeah, you don't try to miss somebody. You fight or flight. I think we know where you sit on that.
I just stay away. So, like I said to you about my missus, she's knew me since we was kids. She's seen me and she's seen the things I've had to do with my skint when boxing's not paying. So she knows them things, and so I just stay away from any kind of trouble in my life because I don't need it. So if I was at someone to challenge me today in this modern day, I'm not gonna lie, I'll just be over in seconds. Because and I'll switch just like that, and I'm always gonna have that in me.
I think people forget that. I've seen the one of is it the lad who fought Frank Bruno when he's the doorman and the lad's chirping up, and it was
Julius Francis. He didn't fight Frank Bruno, he fought Mike Tyson.
Sorry, Mike Tyson.
And he gets angry.
But again, I see he's working on the door, and the lad's getting carried away.
The fella's giving it to him.
It's just madness.
And he's just gone to him, and he's just gone, clip, there's one for you, and he's just a skip. He's just out like a light now.
So I'm going through here, and I'm going through talk stuff, Danzy, fighting or football, big dunk we spoke about, Everton, your love of Everton we spoke about, that it's not a disease as such, is it? But your dad chooses a team for you and then he just attaches onto it. You know, even when we got money and we thought, here we go, we're going to be like Man City, we're going to be like Chelsea, somehow we've ended up, and again, I'm just throwing us back to this point, we're 10 points deducted as of yesterday, and it's now looking like we might get another 6 points tapped on. As a staunch Evertonian, you know,
I just think they're making an example of us. Disgrace.
But I'm ex-City, I love Man City, but I'm like, I'm cutting them in there, 115 charges.
It's not 101 anymore.
But did you hear the latest from a couple of days ago? And I don't mean to infuriate you here. They said by the time, because City have had the best lawyers in the world, the Premier League in August this year are going to change the rules. So by the time it actually gets heard for City, they're going to have changed the rules that Everton and Forest are likely to be punished on this time round, which just...
So because they've dragged it on that long, the rules are ineffective no more?
What did you... So what Man City have done, and again, I have to say allegedly, although what Man City have done is when they've got the charges, they've gone out and hired the best 5 lawyers in the world at this level. Now, they know they only need 1 or 2 to work for them, but they've stopped the others from being hired by the Premier League or by anyone who brings an objection. Yeah. So when the Premier League get it over through all the hurdles they need to get out to get the case heard,
just get another blockage on them.
They're just like, and again, as we know in the world, unfortunately, money talks. But again, how Everton dealt with and given a points deduction, and then Everton and Forest again are dealt with and given, by the looks of it, another points deduction before Man City's original 115 charges have even been aired. It's just not right.
Listen, it's once again, money does talk, but make an example of the Scousers.
But again, you see that in other sports.
How do you get 10 points, right, for a charge that, okay, well, obviously we've breached a few rules, but how do you only get 9 points for going into administration and get 10 points for breaking one rule? I mean, please.
I don't know how Chelsea spend $1 billion and they say, oh, that's okay, yeah. And I don't know where this FFP begins. And obviously, there's a big thing coming out in France now. Got sent the other day that the French government have been caught in cahoots with PSG about their avoidance of paying tax. So how they've paid, say, Ibrahimovic, he's been paid £8 million a season, but another $8 million in an account in dollars in one of these Arab countries where they're set up. So actually what they've said they've put through the FFP actually hasn't turned out to be right. And there's big things that Guardiola's paid in a dollar account elsewhere as a load of City players. And we know that skullduggery goes on in sports.
It's always going to happen. It's always going to continue to happen. But what
so again, doping in your sport is, as I say, Canelo, Fury, all had failed tests. Arthur Beterbiev.
He hasn't actually had he's had an adverse finding, but he didn't have an adverse finding against Callum. He had an adverse finding in the fight before.
And obviously we've got Conor Benn. I need to talk to you about Conor Benn, because when I put up, I'd seen you tweeting about the fight Saturday, and I thought the same. I thought Makhachev, and I thought they just looked beyond normal, which when you've watched Icarus and you've seen what happened with those Russian athletes, it does certainly raise questions about, was that a fair goal, a square contest, and again, we'll never know. We'll probably never be in position. The other one is obviously the financial doping that comes in, because in football, is there an element? I do think there's been teams, whether it's blood spinning, Liverpool with the asthma inhalers, and then off them, there's been loads of rumours with the cycling doctor Fuentes, who was linked heavily with Barcelona when he done well in Real Madrid, which makes sense because big money, big business. Leads you on to then other kinds of doping in our sport. Clearly, we're looking at Everton, and you're looking at it going, well, they're being punished for financial doping. That's why they've had a points deduction. That's what the FA or the Premier League are saying.
I haven't got a clue.
But as the guy said, so if you can afford Kylian Mbappe and Haaland, surely we should be working out ways to get these players to the Premier League, not FFP. The Newcastle Saudi owners now can't spend what they want to spend because of all these documents and spreadsheets that need filling in. Let's just be totally
honest, though. They're going to get whoever they want. And like City are doing, they just tie it up in court if they can't. And you're never going to get to the justice anyway. And then before you know it, the rules are going to change. And then guess what? The old rules are ineffective because they've dragged it on for that long.
Well, this is what's going to happen with COVID by the looks of it, because they're not going to have any inquiry now till after the election. And again, look, I know I've taken up loads of your time, and you've got a family there. I'm buzzing you've come on. Molly was meant to come on, Molly McCann, but obviously because I'd said about the female commentators, and I'd used a poor analogy, I think, because she wanted to earn a few quid. She's got a fight coming up. She didn't want a distraction.
Did she say no, did she?
No, she's just said, look, Joe, it's a bit of a distraction. I don't want people turning on me, because I knew we'd have a solid conversation. I thought it'd be a great conversation because she'd give us a different perspective. Female commentators? I said they're just killing the game in terms of, you don't see this so much in boxing, in terms of, you don't see ex-women boxers really commentating on the boxing, giving a technical breakdown. I know I've seen like Natasha Jonas, and I've seen the odd presenter in the boxing, but I would imagine that's because it's hard for a female boxer to explain what it feels like to get punched in the face by a boxer, a male boxer, and the velocity. For me, I really struggle with female ex-players, women, talking about the men's game, just based on the athletic output and the speed, and I just go, you don't know what you're on about. You actually don't know what the men's game is just moving at a speed you just can't even comprehend. So I, to raise a bit of awareness to the issue, I compared two female commentary and pundits to, I said, the serial killers. They're basically murdering football fans' ears. So I compared them to Fred West and Rose West, which I knew.
Jesus Christ, Joe!
I know,
for fuck's sake, lad.
Which really? I knew. I was only poking the box a bit. I didn't mean it,
Joe. Fred West and Rose, fucking hell, lad.
Well, I wanted to get it. I wanted to get their attention, and it worked, clearly.
It got the attention. You've just labelled a couple of birds serial killers.
Yeah, and I doubled down on it a bit further, because then I superimposed both of the ends over Fred and Rose Westhead. So
Christ, what's up with you?
But I want to have a laugh and a joke and have and
not everyone gets out of humour. I mean, I don't think I even get that one, you sick bastard.
No, it was a bit over the top in terms of proving my point. But as I knew the media would, they took it literally when I was like, they know I wasn't saying that. I was trying to get my point across of every time I turned the TV on. I even turned, you're not going to believe this morning. So I've turned over, I was watching Sky Sports Transfer Talk, and they obviously had two women on and a fella who was 100% gay, a European football expert, and an Indian or a Pakistani guy talking about football transfers. And I was just like, who the fuck are these? What are they on about? So I flipped over from that to the Crown Green Bowls on BBC Two. And they even had a woman commentator on there. And I know nothing about Crown Green Bowls, but she was doing me head in when she was talking. So that's where it started. As I say, loads of people have ran for deals because they think I'm going to go on to some mad tangent. But so honest to God, I'm so thankful for you to come on.
I came in, didn't I?
said to the lads, obviously when Molly went, because I thought, I need to get two people on to start who'll definitely both punch me head in. So I thought, Bomber's there all day, he'll smash me head in. And I thought, who else can fill me in but a female? And obviously Moll was trying for that.
Life out of you.
Well, and again, I'm hoping to get her back on, but she said, look, I've got a fight coming up. I just don't need any distractions. She knew we'd be all right talking. But as it was, it worked out better getting you on just to talk. No doubt I'll be trying to get you on in future, because we could be here talking for hours and hours. But thanks so much for coming in, mate.
Absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And I'd love to get into, obviously, the stuff you were doing there, because I do feel it's important for us. We've been lucky. We had a talent that we developed. Enough people believed in us, whether that was our own parents or coaches, to give us opportunities, and we kept proving them right. But we've also got to create pathways for the next generations and the people to
100%. More people in the city need to give back more. And I just think there's ways and means of doing things, and I'm not saying to people have to put their hand in the pocket, because I don't put my hand in my pocket, but I give something that's far more valuable than that, and that's time.
Yeah,
and it's something I can never get back. And I gave Weapons Down, Gloves Up just so much of my time. Like I gave it everything I possibly had, and you know, I said, just want to help the kids in the city. They're not as fortunate as I was as a kid, and people will laugh at that, saying that, because I think I was very fortunate to have loads of youth centres growing up. I was fortunate to be able to get on the bus, go into the different parts of the city and not have any problems because of where I was from or the colour you was. And it's not the case now. You can't just get on a bus and go in anywhere because of whether it's a stupid postcode holding you back, or whether it's because of a certain style, or whether someone's got a knife or whatever have you. And I really do feel for them kids, whether the youth centres are not open because there's not enough going on. Kids have got to stop thinking that I'm going out on the street and spending time with my mates. You know why? Because we're playing a game on PlayStation together. That's not going out, mate.
Yeah.
You're not seeing your mates when you're sitting down the PlayStation playing in a group chat on Call of Duty. That's not seeing your mates. Seeing your mates, getting your ass out the house, go knock on his door, see if he's in, let's go out. I don't know what you're going to do when you walk out that house, or what you do when you come out of the house, but walk around, do something, see something, get some exercise, play footy together. Well, that's the thing, isn't it?
The parents, your parents don't want them to go out because of the dangers that lurk out there. I mean, you know, speaking to a couple of mates of mine who were down in London, like, what's going on down there? But then obviously, was it Tony Dodson? Somebody related to Tony Dodson?
Yeah,
the kid who got stabbed there.
I've got to go and see him this week because I've spoken to him.
He's okay, he's on the way out of that. I've seen you tweeting about it.
I've spoken to him and I've had a few FaceTimes with him, little Lance. He's the loveliest kid going. Was a very promising, fine young boxer that I'm just hoping that hasn't been taken away from him. I think it might have.
Where did he get stabbed? In the heart?
Twice in the heart, 2 wounds.
But this is the thing, you can go and do boxing, MMA, martial arts, you can be, and then
they'll have had a couple of fisticuffs by all accounts in town, and he's obviously, you know, done a couple over with his fists, and then someone's just come up with a blade and stuck it in his chest twice, not once but twice, and he's very, very lucky to be alive. So, you know, and that's not going off accounts for anyone else, that's going directly from his father's mouth, so I know I'm speaking the truth instead of, because there's so many different stories, different stories going around, but he's all right now, he's on the mend. He's still in a lot of pain, but I'm going to get to see him this week most definitely, and I'm just so happy and so lucky that he's here, mate, because his dad has been through a really tough life, mate. Tony Dodson, his dad, he's been a mate of mine for a long time, and I've known for an awfully long time, so yeah, I'm happy he's all right and his little baby's okay.
And again, it touches back to that, you know, knives down, gloves up, weapons down, gloves up, or whatever it is.
Just people need to, as I say, mate.
You're not playing Call of Duty hard, you can't just press start. And people, I know
That's
that all too well, some of the chaos I've been through in my life, mate.
Some of the nutters, as you know, and we both share the same barrister in Richard Darby, at Potter Derby, and some of the things, the stories he'll tell you of, as I say, these kids go into these police rooms and giving it the big bollocks of lad, no comment, peg and all that shit, and then the copper just goes, listen mate, your phone pinged there, that's you there, that's you doing it, you're going to jail for the rest of your life. All the tears come on then, tiny tears start, and then it's all of a sudden start telling on the mates, and then everyone's going to jail.
Well, it's no kind of life. So we've grew up with loads of them, and the amount of lads I meet who were good footballers going, and then the Tony Montana drag, and that was cooler because it was quick. It was a quicker way to quicker money, but also the discipline, dedication, squiddling yourself away, living like a Spartan to become what we ended up becoming. And when I meet them now and I talk to them, they go, fucking hell, you had your head screwed on. I'm like, I just didn't want anything to do with your world because I just thought
anything that comes
chaos.
Quick, anything in the world, anything that comes quick, mate, it never lasts. Anything that comes quick. So whether it's money, whether it's anything that comes quick, it just doesn't last. And there's no shortcut to success. There's no shortcut to it. And you've just got to implement that in these kids, because social media, I genuinely believe, is the worst thing to ever happen to this world. I just think it's an absolutely terrible.
But it could be used for good.
It could be used in the best way. But I just think, Joe, it's destroying the kids, because what social media done is take away the journey and deliver the destination. No kid wants to. Every kid just looks at now, what car do you drive? What watch do you wear? What's your house like? What private jets are you getting on? But no one's seen that. So, the private jets and the money and the cars and the big house and the watches and the kettles, that's here. But you didn't just go from there to there. There's been a journey where you've gone slowly, but everyone's forgot about the journey, and everyone just sees the destination, and they want to start here and then just go, tomorrow I'm going to be there.
But again, I look at it and go,
social media caused that.
But again, if you switched on and you tell people the right message, which I'm open via this podcast to get out and speak to loads of people, just to give the people who tune in a different perspective, that there's no shortcut to being successful. As you rightly point out there, it's champions are made, as you say, when nobody's eyes are on it. This is the problem now, because even if you're making your way, you've got to have a presence, you've got to build your following, and in your game, ticket sales, I'm seeing some boxers now. Is it the lad, young Paddy Lacey, and there's the boy from Stoke who's done really well, who's just what's his name? Takes all the Stoke following with him. He's fighting on Sky. He's definitely on the Matchroom.
Adam Azim?
No. He's like a rangy boy. Beginning with the H, his second name. Stoke boxer.
Oh, Nathan, yeah.
He's got a crowd, the Stoke fans are going with him.
Yeah, you get a following behind you and stuff like that, but,
doesn't Paddy do a load of tickets?
Paddy does a load of tickets. We've got a kid in Liverpool, Little Jack Turner. Little Jack Turner.
Yeah.
Mate, he's going to be a monster. And believe you me, he's a beast, but there's so many of them, but ultimately you're going to have to overcome the demons, and then these streets in this city, mate, if you don't stay out of them, they're going to eat you up.
But it's not just that. So if you look at, I look at McGregor now, and I'm so hoping he comes back against Chandler, and he is back, he is. But then you think how much money he's got, how big he's got. It transcends the sport. It's hard to keep
you get to the point where it's no longer about money for someone like him.
It's not, no, but I'm saying, so it's hard to keep your head on. It's hard with all that distraction.
It is, but Connor's smart, and I've got to give him credit. I've met him now enough times and spoke to him enough times where people like him, he's fighting and he understands. It's not like when I was getting ready for Usyk, I understood and realised something at the very last minute. I haven't been fighting because it was world champion. I want to be world champion. I haven't been fighting and chasing money because at this stage now, when I'm in the build-up to the Usyk fight, I'm financially secure. I've won a world title. Why I'm sitting in a travelling express for weeks and weeks on end. And I'm sitting there thinking, you don't need this. You don't need, who cares about how many world titles, whatever, that you've won it, you've defended it, you've done it. And I just thought, it took me all these years, 20 years getting punched in the face to go, I'm here because I just love fighting.
Yeah.
I actually do.
Well, that's what I was going to come back to you on. the training, the talent, all that, and then all of a sudden, what's the famous quote? Every boxer has a plan until he gets punched in the nose.
And everyone thinks Mike Tyson said that, but it wasn't actually Mike Tyson.
So, but that's the thing, when you taste that blood or you get that shock to your system, that's where all the training goes out the window. It's that fight or flight.
The brown bomber, everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the face. And Joe Louis was the first person to have said Mike Tyson just made it famous. And then I actually stuck it on a book, which was very bright. Not my choice, like, but the editor's choice. I wanted fail to prepare, prepare to fail.
Fair to fail.
That's the motto. I've got that tattooed on my arm as well.
So listen, thanks for your time. Thanks so much for coming in. Great to start with a boxing world champion.